Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. The system is too pampering, and rewards are given in various ways. Chapter 101. Tough luck. I didn't expect to meet such a pervert. The ruthless sword saint looked at the black-clothed martial emperor who was catching up behind him, and his frosty face could not help but be gloomy to the point of dripping water. And looking at the black-clothed martial emperor who was gradually approaching, she held the long sword tightly in her hand and raised her hand to slash out several cold sword auras. Boom, boom, boom. The sword energy was smashed out like an iceberg, extremely tyrannical. Under martial saint, almost no one can stop him. But it's a pity. The man in front of me is a martial emperor. The other party raised his hand gently and easily deflected the sword energy away. Not only that, the aftermath of the sweep fell on the wetching sword saint, knocking her away directly. A touch of paleness suddenly appeared on her beautiful face, and blood overflowed from the corner of her mouth, which looked particularly dazzling on the cold and pale face. When the black-clothed martial emperor saw the other party's appearance, he became even more excited. That's right, that's right. That's what it looks like. It's so beautiful. Your ancestors never looked like this back then. I didn't expect to see it in you today. It's really good. The black-clothed martial emperor looked at the ruthless sword saint with a look of infatuation on his face. There was even more possessiveness in his eyes. The heartless sword saint felt a chill in her heart, and she swore that even if she committed suicide, she would not let the beast in front of her bully her. But the black-clothed martial emperor seemed to have guessed her thoughts and smiled. Do you want to commit suicide? It's useless. Even if you commit suicide, I will still not let go of your body. Not only that, after I use it, they will also find a city to hang your body, and hang it at the door for everyone to watch. Ha ha ha, I don't want you to die in peace. The cruel sword saint held the knife tightly and said angrily, Beast. Go ahead and scold me. You probably won't have the energy to scold me after a while. The black-clothed martial emperor smiled slightly. Then he reached out and grabbed the other person. The ruthless sword sage naturally would not sit still and wait for death. Although he knew that he was no match, he still used all his strength to wave the long sword in his hand. The cold blade cut out a blade of wind, sending frost and snow flying, freezing the surrounding area. But the cold air surged out, but it couldn't hurt the black-clothed martial emperor at all. He even grabbed the knife in the hand of the ruthless martial saint and smiled contemptuously. Your knife is much worse than that of your ancestors. He squeezed his fingers hard. Click. The long knife was crushed into pieces. The ruthless sword saint was knocked back again and hit a mountain wall. She spat out a mouthful of blood. She stared at the black-clothed martial emperor and suddenly smiled. There was mockery and scorn in that smile. Why are you laughing? The black-clothed martial emperor frowned. You are one of my ancestors. It seems that you were seriously injured by my ancestors. I remember that there were countless people who pursued my ancestors, and one of them used a gun, named Haisha. But unfortunately, my ancestor rejected him. The black devil couldn't love her, so he spread rumors everywhere and slandered my ancestors. Later, he was defeated by my ancestors with a knife and fled in panic. That person must be you. If you can't get the woman you love, you want to destroy her, but instead you are so pathetic when you are defeated so easily and run away like a dog. The ruthless swordsman said slowly. And the black-clothed martial emperor opposite her, no, the black evil was already furious when he heard this, and roared, Shut up. He took one step forward, grabbed it with 5 fingers, grabbed the ruthless sword saint's neck, and lifted it up in the air, his eyes filled with bloodshot eyes. You succeeded in irritating me. I swear, I will make you taste torture and use all the methods I wanted to use on your ancestors on you. Haisha's 5 fingers gradually exerted force. The ruthless sword saint felt out of breath, and when his consciousness gradually blurred, a face with a gentle smile appeared in his mind. Ah, I didn't expect that I would think of him at this time. Pity. There will never be a chance to see him again in this life. It would be great if we could meet again. The ruthless sword saint felt desolate in his heart. Suddenly, between heaven and earth, a sword light came from nowhere. Haisha only felt his arm go cold, and then the ruthless sword saint who was strangled by his neck suddenly disappeared. What disappeared with it was his arm. Not far away, a figure in white was holding the cruel sword saint in one hand, and holding a severed arm in the other hand, throwing it to the ground with a look of disgust. The ruthless sword saint looked at the person holding him, and couldn't help but feel a little dazed when he saw that familiar face. He unconsciously reached out and touched that face. I am not dreaming, are I? I actually saw you. The ruthless swordsman whispered softly. Ling Fong blinked and looked curiously at the ruthless sword saint in his arms. Senior sword saint, are you okay? Ling Fong, do you still remember me? Remember. Of course I remember. In this life, she will never forget such a stunning person. Ling Fong felt a little strange. There's something wrong with this ruthless swordsman. Why did he touch his face as soon as he came up? Could it be that he was injured and lost his mind? Well, that's definitely the case. When Emperor Haisha saw that he had broken his arm, he couldn't help but let out a sharp scream, my hand, my hand. Stop yelling, your hands are here. Ling Fong kicked back the severed hand on the ground to Haisha. Haisha just wanted to reach out and pick it up. As long as he gets the broken arm and finds a top doctor, with his martial emperor's cultivation, he still has a chance to put the broken arm back together. But he saw a sword energy slashing out and landing on the severed arm. Boom! The severed arm exploded into a ball of blood mist. Not even the scum is left. Not to mention reattaching a broken arm. Ah! I am going to kill you. Haisha screamed, holding a spear in his other hand. The Emperor Wu's cultivation completely exploded, and the spear came out like a dragon, like a black flood dragon biting out. Seeing this, the ruthless swordsman exclaimed, be careful. Rest assured. Ling Fong smiled slightly, holding the cruel sword saint in one hand, and pulled out the 7-star Longyuan with the other hand, thrust out the sword, and the earth shook. The stunning sword light flashed across like a shooting star. The dark dragon-like gun light was easily torn apart, and even the gun in Haisha's hand was heard with a clang, and the gun tip was shattered. The whole person flew upside down like a kite with its string cut off, vomiting blood. With a girl in my arms, I can kill the Emperor with one sword. The ruthless sword saint opened his mouth slightly, looking incredulous. So strong. Even though I tried my best, I couldn't hurt Haisha at all. He was defeated so easily. Escape. The black evil martial emperor's anger had been replaced by fear, and he did not dare to stay. He turned around and was about to run away, but suddenly a white figure appeared in front of him. It was Ling Fong. What a speed! Haisha was startled. And Ling Feng's palms had grabbed him as fast as lightning, pinched his neck, and lifted him in the air like a chicken. Is that what you did to Senior Sword Saint just now? Then I will repay you 100-fold. Ling Fong said indifferently. Swallow the celestial immortal technique and cast it. Haisha's cultivation was quickly devoured. After a while, he completely turned into a cripple, lying on the ground like a dead dog. The heartless sword saint was in Ling Feng's arms, his heart trembling. It's over. This time, she really couldn't control herself anymore. After devouring the power of a martial emperor, Ling Feng felt that his cultivation level had risen again. This was much faster than practicing step by step. Then Ling Feng used rejuvenation of all things to heal the wounds of the cruel sword saint. True chi surges. The ruthless sword saint felt a warm current pouring into his body. Immediately afterwards, the injuries on his body recovered quickly, like a miracle. What kind of martial arts is this? It's so magical. The ruthless sword sage said in surprise. It's just a little magic. Ling Feng smiled slightly and put down the recovered ruthless swordsman. When the ruthless swordsman thought that he had been in Ling Feng's arms for so long, his face turned slightly red, but then he quickly returned to normal. Senior Sword Saint. Don't call me senior, you can call me Marong Shui. The ruthless swordsman suddenly said. She was already attracted to Ling Feng, and she could no longer contain this feeling. Now I hear Ling Feng calling me senior. It always feels weird. There is a strange, exciting sense of immorality. Ling Feng was stunned when he heard this, then nodded. Miss Marong, I wonder what you are going to do with this guy. Killed. Marong Shui's eyes flashed with coldness. This person has a grudge against my ancestors, and if he continues to be here, it will be a disaster for me. You can't kill me. Have you ever heard of the 7 Emperors of Heaven? At this time, Haisha said loudly, the 7 Emperors of the wild world are all in the same spirit. Once you kill me, the other 6 emperors will never let you go. Now that the emperors have revived, they will soon wake up. Kill me and become an enemy of the other 6 martial emperors. It's not worth it. Haisha used the name of the 7 emperors of heaven to save his life. Mirong Shui showed a trace of hesitation after hearing this. It's not that she's afraid of death, but she was worried that Ling Fong would be implicated by her. Seeing her hesitation, Ling Fong smiled slightly, then with a snap of his fingers, he slashed out a sword energy and cut off He Sha's head directly. Kill him or her, kill them, it's just a few martial emperors, why bother? Ling Fong still wished that a few more emperors would come to trouble him. In this way, his celestial immortal technique can be used. Devour Emperor Wu's cultivation and improve himself. I feel excited just thinking about it. Mirong Shui, who was on the side, took a breath of cold air when she heard this, then shook her head and said with a smile, a few martial emperors are not worth mentioning. Only Ling Fong can say this, no one else dares to think about it. Quote. Let's not talk about it for now, Miss Mirong. This guy said that there are still a few martial emperors who may come to trouble you. Why don't you go to my White Cloud sect to avoid the limelight? Ling Fong smiled and then suggested. Will this cause trouble for White Cloud sect? Mirong Shui hesitated. It's okay, I'm here, and after all, I killed this person. If he causes trouble, he will find me White Cloud sect sooner or later. Miss Mirong may be able to help me White Cloud sect. Ling Fong laughed. Road. Hearing this, Mirong Shui shook her head. As a martial saint, how can I help you when facing Emperor Wu? At most, I can only cheer you up by the side. That's enough. Then I'd rather be respectful than obey. Mirong Shui did not refuse and went to White Cloud sect together. Ding. Closing square bracket. The host hero saves the beauty and rewards the host with a heart of Sword Dao Emperor. Closing square bracket. System rewards are also ringing in the road. The Emperor's heart of Sword Dao. Let him become Emperor again with the new martial Dao. Speaking of which, with the celestial immortal technique, he can swallow the cultivation of other martial emperors. For example, after a Qin Emperor asked Ling Fong to swallow his cultivation, Ling Fong could also become the Qin Emperor in one leap. This is better than any emperor's heart. It's scary. But it's better to have it than not. Ling Fong accepted this imperial heart. On the way, he refined it and became the Sword Dao martial emperor. When Ling Fong was refining the emperor's heart, Mirong Shui was watching from the side, watching helplessly as Ling Fong went from a person who knew nothing about swordsmanship to a swordsman martial emperor at an incredible speed. This had an unprecedented impact on her soul. As far as I know, the most outstanding swordsman in the Kanchong realm in the past 1,000 years is the ancestor of my Mirong family, the Qingqing Sword Emperor. But now that I see Ling Fong, you know what a true genius is. Quote. 1,000 years of practicing martial arts is not as good as your sudden enlightenment. Mirong Shui sighed. Ling Fong smiled slightly and said, Miss Mirong's ancestors went through thousands of years of hard training to attain enlightenment and become an emperor. The hardships they experienced during this process are beyond imagination. Although I attained enlightenment in one day, I lack the experience and am not as good as my ancestors. Quote. What you said is so modest. Mirong Shui smiled and shook her head. In her opinion, Ling Fong is almost unbelievably perfect. Ordinary people who have achieved such achievements at his age would already have their tails raised to the sky, and they don't know how proud they are. But Ling Fong is still open-minded, humble and polite. If he hadn't been offended, he wouldn't have had the airs of Emperor Wu at all. Soon, Ling Fong took Mirong Shui back to White Cloud sect. The Lord of White Cloud sect welcomed Mirong Shui's arrival. I've long heard about the reputation of the ruthless sword saint. When I saw him today, he was truly outstanding. The Lord of White Cloud sect cupped his hands and said with a smile. Mirong Shui nodded slightly, without much expression on her face. When everyone around saw this, they couldn't help but sigh. He is indeed the ruthless swordsman. This frosty look is exactly like the rumors. Ling Fong, since you brought Miss Mirong back, let her live in Piaomiao Peak. Don't neglect it, the Lord of White Cloud sect said with a smile. Mirong Shui's eyes lit up when she heard this, and she looked at Ling Fong with anticipation. But Ling Fong didn't have any objections. Okay. Then I'll take care of you, Ling Fong. Mirong Shui smiled, just like the frost melting and hundreds of flowers blooming. Everyone was stunned when they saw this. The promised ruthlessness. What about being as cold as ice? Why are you smiling so happily all of a sudden? Ji Linglong and Lang Ningxuang looked at each other and noticed something fishy. The ruthless sword saint is all a lie. No, it could be that she is ruthless to other people but has feelings for her junior brother. Well, Jolie came here not long ago, and now there is the ruthless sword saint. There are more and more opponents, and they are getting stronger. Ji Linglong and Ji Linglong suddenly felt a sense of urgency in their hearts. No, if this continues, junior brother will be snatched away one day. Misty Peak. Ling Fong came with Mirong Shui. In addition, Ji Linglong and Lang Ningxuang also came with them. Ling Fong glanced at the two women and asked curiously, "Senior sister, do you really want to live here too?" Our martial arts progress has been a bit slow recently. I would like to ask Elder Lu for advice. Instead of running around then, it is better to stay here. Ji Linglong nodded repeatedly. This is a lie. Their real purpose is only one. That is, first come first served. Even if I can't get married to Ling Fong for the time being, I definitely can't let anyone else get there first. Thinking of this, the women looked at each other with a hint of hostility. The atmosphere became a little chilly. Ling Fong felt strange. Do these people have a grudge? He rubbed his head without asking any questions, and then went to report to Lu Rusi. Regarding the arrival of the girls, Lu Rusi had a vague suspicion in his heart. He laughed, patted Ling Fong on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Good disciple, you are really blessed." After hearing Lu Rusi's words, the corner of Ling Feng's mouth twitched. Yanfu, why does he feel a bit like a Shira field? Lu Rusi has no objection to the girls living in Piaomiao Peak. She just wants to live there and build a house here. Of course the girls have no objection. With their cultivation level, is it not easy to build several houses? But it turns out, a person with high cultivation level may not necessarily be able to build a good house. After 2 days, the three women could not even build a thatched house. Ling Fong couldn't stand it anymore and came to Ji Linglong. "Well, senior sister, you have to lay the foundation first to build a house. You didn't even lay the foundation. It will fall down when the wind blows. No matter how you build it, it will fall down. Use." "Hey, junior brother, you actually want to build a house?" Well, laying a foundation is common sense. Even those who don't know how to build a house know it." The corner of Ling Feng's mouth twitched. Ding. Closing square bracket. The host is helpful and rewards the host with master builder skills. Closing square bracket. A lot of knowledge related to architecture suddenly came to Ling Feng's mind. He suddenly became a master architect. "Junior brother, please help me." Ji Linglong took Ling Feng's hand and said coquettishly. "Humph, you just know how to act coquettishly, how shameless." Lang Ningxuang on the side snorted, a little dissatisfied, then silently walked up to Ling Fong, silently reaching out and pulling his sleeves. Although he didn't say anything, those eyes said it all. Mirong Shui, who was playing with a pile of wood not far away, also looked at Ling Fong expectantly, obviously wanting to ask him for help. Ling Fong sighed, "Okay, from now on, follow my command. I will obey my junior brother's orders. Whatever our junior brother asks us to do, we will do it." Based on the knowledge of the master architect that came to his mind, Ling Fong first made the drawings and asked the women to look at them before starting. These girls are not stupid and have nimble hands and feet. They could not build a house before just because they did not have relevant knowledge. Now with Ling Fong on the side to guide him in his own cultivation, the house building speed is very fast. In less than 3 days, 3 exquisite houses were built. Come in and take a look. All kinds of furniture applications are available inside. The layout is simple and elegant, which makes people feel comfortable at first sight. The 3 girls looked at Ling Fong with admiration in their eyes. "Junior brother, you are really great. Is there anything else you don't know how to do? Why do I feel that nothing can trouble you, junior brother?" The 3 girls looked at Ling Fong with great emotion. Ling Fong looked at the house and smiled with satisfaction, and then retired. The 3 girls lived in Piaomiao Peak like this. But on this day, Ling Fong suddenly noticed a real commotion coming from Mirong Shui's residence. He was a little confused and his clairvoyance opened. Seeing Mirong Shui sitting on the bed, her face turned slightly pale. "Is this a problem with practicing?" Ling Fong frowned. The next day, Mirong Shui came out of the house, held a long knife, and began to practice her sword skills. But after practicing for a while, she was half kneeling on the ground, holding the knife, her face became increasingly pale, and she even spit out a mouthful of blood. Ling Fong saw this and quickly went up to ask, "Miss Morong, what's wrong with you?" While asking, he used all things to rejuvenate and help the other person heal. Morong Shui shook her head. "I'm fine, there's just something wrong with my technique." "Oh, this is not a problem for you." At this time, Rusi, holding a wine bottle, happened to pass by. "If you continue to practice, you will definitely die." Ling Fong frowned when he heard this. "Master, what's the problem?" "That's up to you." Ling Fong was stunned for a moment. "What does this have to do with me? I practiced ruthless swordsmanship, but now my emotions conflict with my own swordsmanship." "Of course it's your fault." Rusi curled her lips and said. Morong Shui's face turned red. "This has nothing to do with Ling Fong. It would be nice if it really doesn't matter. In short, you know the problem yourself. Either forget about love and give up on love, or give up on this sword skill." Rusi took a sip of wine and left. After she left, Ling Fong asked curiously, "Miss Morong, what are you going to do next? How about we practice other sword techniques? I have been practicing the Wuqing sword for so many years. I am afraid that I will not be used to the sudden change of sword technique. Moreover, this sword technique is passed down from my ancestors. If I don't practice it, it may be lost. It would be unfilial to the descendants after my death. Actually, I have a doubt." "Ling Fong, it doesn't matter if you say so. The way of ruthless swordsmanship emphasizes forgetting feelings and giving up love. But if you really forget feelings and give up love, then how did your ancestors continue the descendants? But if you didn't forget feelings and give up love, how did you practice this ruthless swordsmanship to the extreme?" Ling Fong asked curiously. As soon as these words came out, Morong Shui was stunned. This problem, she didn't know how to answer. Perhaps it could be said that she used to be so focused on swordsmanship that she never thought about this, but now that Ling Fong brought it up, she immediately became confused. Yes, how could the ancestors who had forgotten their love and abandoned their love marry with others and continue their descendants? But if he didn't abandon his love, how could the other party be promoted to Emperor Marshal? What was she missing? She vaguely realized that this would be the key to breaking through her shackles. "Miss Morong, I have a heartfelt request. Ling Fong, there is no need to be so polite between you and me. No matter what it is, I will promise you," Morong Shui said. What she said was quite straightforward. "I just had to put the words, 'I like you,' on my face." Once a ruthless person is emotional, it becomes even stronger. "I mean, you helped me save my life, and I should repay you." As if she realized that what she said was a bit blunt, Morong Shui's face turned red, and she was a little panicked, and she explained again. Ling Fong smiled and said, "I want to see the Ruthless Sword Manual." "Do you want to learn?" "I want to do some research and maybe there is a way to solve your problem." "No problem." Morong Shui nodded, took out the sword manual and handed it to Ling Fong. Logically speaking, this sword manual is a unique skill passed down from the Morong family and cannot be passed down except to the Morong family. But now, Morong Shui is the only one left in the Morong family, and Ling Fong means a lot to Morong Shui. Extraordinary. She didn't hesitate at all when giving this sword technique to the other party. "Anyway, I am the only one left in the Morong family. I have the final say in the house rules," Morong Shui thought to herself. After Ling Fong took the sword manual, he began to study it. With his knowledge of cultivation as a sword Dao martial emperor, coupled with his transcendent level understanding, it couldn't be easier to analyze an emperor-level martial arts book. Less than a day, Ling Fong completely understood the mystery. "I see." Ling Fong stood on the top of the mountain, turned his palm into a sword, and struck out a cold and ruthless sword light, directly splitting the clouds and the sky in half. Morong Shui was extremely surprised when she saw it, the ruthless sword technique. "I didn't expect Ling Fong to learn it in less than a day. It is undoubtedly an incredible thing to learn the emperor-level technique in one day, and it is more advanced than what she has studied for hundreds of years. But when I think that the person who did such a thing is Ling Fong." She suddenly felt that this was quite normal. After all, in front of her, the other party had jumped directly from a martial artist who was not proficient in swordsmanship to a martial emperor of swordsmanship. In comparison, learning Emperor-level sword skills in one day is nothing. Ling Fong stands on the top of the mountain, turning his palm into a sword. The ruthless sword skills are displayed one after another, one after another. The knife's intent is cold to the bone, making people intimidated. In just a few breaths, Ling Fong was surrounded by ice and snow. Mirong Shui watched from the side and felt that the other party's ruthless sword skills were infinitely higher than her own. But suddenly, Ling Feng's sword skills moved forward, and a trace of vitality burst out in the extreme cold, and this vitality gradually grew stronger. Suddenly, the surrounding ice and snow melted, and hundreds of flowers bloomed. It's actually a brand new change in the ruthless sword technique. As the sword technique changes, Mirong Shui's state of mind is also affected. With Ling Feng's sword moves, she becomes happy or sad, angry or sad. After a while, Ling Feng stopped. But the sword intent around them is lingering. Ling Feng, is this still the ruthless sword technique? Mirong Shui asked in surprise. Ling Feng nodded slightly. Of course this is the ruthless sword technique, but it is just a new change of the ruthless sword technique after the ultimate. From ruthless to sentimental, one thought is ruthless, one thought is sentimental, one thought is life, and one thought is death. This is the true meaning of the ruthless sword technique. The ultimate goal of ruthless swordsmanship is not to abandon love, but to control your emotions and allow yourself to switch freely between ruthlessness and affection. Ling Feng spoke eloquently. When Mirong Shui heard the words, she seemed to have some enlightenment. Oh, it sounds very simple, but in fact it is not easy to do. Miss Mirong's ancestor is really an amazing person. The ancestors are indeed amazing, but it is a pity that our descendants are incompetent and have not discovered the true meaning of the ruthless sword technique for so many years. Mirong Shui smiled bitterly. Ms. Mirong is extremely talented. It is only a matter of time before she masters the secrets of this sword technique. Come, let me teach you some of the key points first. Well, I'm done. Under Ling Feng's step-by-step guidance, Mirong Shui gradually found some tips and gained a better understanding of the ruthless sword technique. When she truly masters this sword technique and can freely switch between the sentient and ruthless states, that's when she will be promoted to the martial emperor. Tisk, not bad, not bad. He has understood the true secret of this sword technique in such a short period of time. He is indeed a good disciple of his master. Lu Rusi touched Ling Feng's head. Master, you have noticed it, right? Why didn't you tell me? Hey, isn't this a test for you? You really did not disappoint me. Lu Rusi said with a smile. Time flies. Another half-month has passed. During this period of time, many martial emperors in the Kanchong realm woke up one by one, and they all knew that Immortal Whitehorse was looking for a person named Lu Xian. But the origin of this person is a mystery and he will not be found for a while. On the contrary, the martial emperors woke up one after another, which brought great impact to the Kanchong realm. On this very day, in the realm of the sky, on top of a mountain range, several light pillars rose into the sky, and in these light pillars, there were several majestic figures. There were 6 people in total, all of whom were martial emperors. Especially the white-haired man at the head, whose aura was as majestic as a flood. He had already transcended the 9th level of the martial emperor and reached the realm of the ultimate Tao. Some martial emperors in the sky world could not help but be surprised when they sensed this aura. This aura is the first of the 7 emperors of heaven. The 7 emperors of the heaven and desolate world were all over the world thousands of years ago. Especially the leader of the 7 emperors of the heaven and desolate world, known as the old monster of the heaven and desolate world, was a figure from thousands of years ago. If the gate of heaven had not been closed tightly and the path to immortality had not been cut off, I am afraid that it would have been long ago. It's Ascension Immortal world. Now that he wakes up, he will definitely not give up this opportunity to reopen the heavenly gate. I just don't know if he will try to please that immortal. Forget it, let's ignore this person for now. Find Lu Xian first. Only by finding this person can the heavenly gate be truly reopened. The emperors talked a lot, but the 6 of the awakened 7 emperors of heaven did not feel happy. On the contrary, their expressions were somewhat gloomy. The coercion exuded also carried an extremely cold killing intent. 7th brother, he's dead. Who killed him? We have formed a soul contract with Jinlan and our 7th brother. Now let's activate the contract and see what the seventh brother encountered before he died. One of the men in green shirt said calmly. The emperors nodded when they heard the words, and then with a thought, they activated the soul contract, and saw lights flashing on their bodies, intertwining a mirror in the void. What appeared in the mirror was exactly what happened to Haisha before he died. After everyone read what happened, they couldn't help but fell silent. In this era, there is such a young Emperor Wu. Although the seventh brother is the weakest among us, he is still a martial emperor. To be killed so easily. This young man's strength is extraordinary. It's not that easy to deal with him. Then find a way to make him obey. At this time, an old man wearing a black robe chuckled and said, "My poison power can easily corrode Emperor Wu. As long as you create opportunities for me and let him be poisoned by me, are you afraid that he won't submit obediently?" Well, that makes sense. Several people nodded. I am very confident about the old man's poison. Even the old monster Tianguang, who is the leader of the 7 emperors of Tianguang, agreed. Even if I am infected by the poison of the 4th child, my combat power will be reduced by more than half. Although this young man's strength is extraordinary, he must be able to withstand it. No. Let's go. Avenge Lao Qi. Several people were filled with indignation, and their figures flashed and flew in the direction of White Cloud sect. The 7 emperors of heaven and earth are making a lot of noise. After all, they were also well-known strong men in the firmament realm back then. Now that they have come out in full force to go to the White Cloud sect, they must have attracted the attention of many interested people. Especially those newly revived martial emperors also wanted to join in the fun. For a while, White Cloud sect has become a place where much attention is paid and where the storm gathers. This day, Ling Fong sits on the top of the mountain, absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and turning it into his own true qi. After devouring 3 martial emperors in succession, and with the cultivation during this period, his cultivation has already reached the 9th level of martial emperor. He is only 1 step away from the extreme realm. If he swallows a few more martial emperors, he will definitely be able to step into the extreme realm. By then transcending tribulation ascension will not be a problem. Just when Ling Fong was thinking like this, suddenly, his eyes lit up and he looked towards the sky in the distance. Good guy, I really mean Cao Cao, Cao Cao is here. This kind of aura, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 martial emperors, and they look menacing. They are obviously looking for trouble. Haha, then I'll be relieved. If the other party was a guest, he would be embarrassed to do anything. But since we are here to find trouble, then he won't be polite and swallow them all. Boom, boom, boom. The void shook. In the sky above White Cloud sect, waves of Emperor Wu's pressure fell like waterfalls. In an instant, the entire White Cloud sect fell into unprecedented turmoil. Many disciples rushed out and took a breath of air as they looked at the 6 people in the sky. Today's White Cloud sect disciples are different from what they used to be. My knowledge has also become wider. Naturally, it can be seen that these 6 people are definitely not martial saints. But the real Emperor Wu. Oh my god, 6 martial emperors came to my White Cloud sect, and it looks like they came with bad intentions. Is my White Cloud sect going to be in trouble? Everyone swallowed, feeling a little worried. The 6 emperors came in person to overwhelm White Cloud sect. The vast power made every disciple of White Cloud sect tremble. Some disciples even felt that White Cloud sect was an imminent disaster, and they had determination on their faces, planning to fight the 6 emperors to the death. Even the master of White Cloud sect had the thought of dying together. Even if we are destroyed, we still have to tear off a piece of flesh from the 6 emperors. The White Cloud sect master said fiercely. Most were prepared to fight to the death. There are also people who look like it has nothing to do with them, such as Rusi. She was currently sleeping soundly on Piao Peak, even kicking the quilt under the bed. The vast pressure of the 6 emperors seemed to have no impact on her. At most, just let her turn over and continue sleeping. Over White Cloud sect, the leader of the 6 emperors, old monster Tianguang said coldly, Ling Fong. You killed my 7th brother, why don't you come out and die? The sound was like rolling thunder, shaking hundreds of miles. The next moment, within the White Cloud sect, a burst of sword intent soared into the sky, intertwining in the void to form thousands of sword shadows circling, protecting the entire White Cloud sect. The pressure of the 6 emperors can no longer have the slightest impact on everyone. The clouds rolled and a brilliant divine light shone out. In the divine light, a figure in white came slowly with a sword. He had a tall and slender figure, sword-shaped eyebrows and starry eyes, and a faint smile on his lips. Temperament transcendent emerges from the dust, just like an immortal descending. He looked at the 6th emperor and smiled faintly. Isn't it just to kill one of your younger brothers? As for such a big fanfare, will the 6th emperor come? Besides, your younger brother is not a good person. I am still killing harm for the people. Woolen cloth. After hearing this, the 6th emperor's face turned extremely gloomy. Listen, is this what people say? Didn't he just kill one of your brothers? Isn't that it? It's simply too arrogant. Not only the 6 emperors of Tianwang, but also the other emperors who were observing in secret could not help but twitch the corners of their mouths and looked at Ling Fong, speechless for a while. Who is this person? Too arrogant. Not only did the 6 emperors come in person, they were not afraid at all. How dare you speak provocatively? This man is the youngest martial emperor in this era. It is said that he is less than 20 years old this year, but he has already killed several martial emperors in succession. And the great Zhou dynasty was able to dominate the world because of this person. Oh my God, a martial emperor who is less than 20 years old. What kind of fantasy story is this? You don't have to brag like this. If you look at the 6 emperors of heaven and earth together, you will know how much they value each other. It can be seen that Ling Fong is indeed no small matter. Tisk, tisk, now we have something good to watch. Each of the 6 emperors of Tianwang is a long famous martial emperor, especially the old monster of Tianwang, who is even closer to the powerful martial emperor of Jidao. This Ling Fong, no matter how strong he is, will not be able to compete with these 6. Let's fight against it. Although Ling Feng's growth history shocked everyone. But at this moment, the 6 emperors of heaven and earth were so powerful, and coupled with their reputation long ago, basically no one thought that Ling Fong could win over them. Except for a few die-hard Ling Fong fans of White Cloud sect. Such as Ji Yu Linglong, Lang Ning Shuang, Feng Xiaoyao, Zhang Ruochen. It turns out we are here to see junior brother Ling. These people don't know how scary junior brother Ling is. HMPH, let them see it. High in the air, the old monster Tianwang stared at Ling Fong, then suddenly took action and pointed out. I saw a vortex of black clouds suddenly appear in the sky, bursts of surging true chi emerged from it, and a giant finger made of black gas suddenly pointed out. This blow is extremely powerful. It's as if he wants to shatter the sky with one finger. It's the famous secret skill of old monster Tianwang, Tianwang finger. Emperor Wu recognized this move and his eyes became extremely solemn. But Ling Fong, who was facing this blow, had a calm smile on his face, his fingertips were full of sword energy, and he also pointed out casually. However, the sword energy flew across the sky and tore the void apart. Swords and fingers collide in a shocking way. Like 2 stars colliding, mountains and rivers collapse, and wind and clouds sweep across. The ground for thousands of miles around was shaken with a bang. The impact spreads, as if the end is coming. If it weren't for Ling Feng's sword energy guarding him, most of White Cloud sect would have collapsed under this finger, and no one would know how many people would be injured. This is definitely not a movement that can be caused by the collision of ordinary martial emperors. Some gasped. This Ling Fong is actually at the 9th level of the martial emperor. Oh my God, he is already a monster for being promoted to the martial emperor at such a young age. Now tell me, he is still a martial emperor at the 9th level. Are you going to be so exaggerated? Everyone just felt dizzy. In their opinion, Ling Fong is simply inhuman. They all doubted each other whether the immortal king was reincarnated. It is indeed not unjust for my 7th brother to die in your hands. The old monster of Tianwang said in a solemn voice, and was shocked by Ling Feng's strength, but he did not flinch. But we, the 7 emperors of Tianwang, have practiced together for many years and have a deep friendship. If you kill the 7th brother, we must avenge him. Quote. Ling Fong raised his fingers and said, come. Then, kill. The old monster Tianwang shouted lowly. The remaining people took action quickly. All kinds of powerful imperial arts were displayed instantly. One of them, Emperor Wu, holding a big sword in his hand, jumped vertically and horizontally. The moment the big sword fell in his hand, the evil energy rolled like a mountain torrent. In that sword light, it seems to contain thousands of troops. Ling Fong turned his palm into a sword and slashed at will. Use ruthless sword skills. The sword energy was vertical and horizontal, and it actually chopped the sword energy directly into pieces. The great sword martial emperor was knocked back dozens of steps, and the hand holding the sword was trembling slightly. What a terrifying sword skill, and he is actually a sword Dao martial emperor. But doesn't he use a sword? This person is weird, everyone must be careful. Everyone continued to take action. Someone took out a flute and played it. For a moment, the sound of the flute carried a breathtaking power. This is the sound attack method. There was another person holding a long black stick, with true chi surging from his body, forming a huge black ape behind him, and he also held a long stick and blasted towards Ling Fong. Ling Fong took his time. While resisting the sound wave, he used Immortal King Law manifestation and knocked out the giant ape with one punch. At this time, an arrow shot towards Ling Fong like a shooting star. Ling Fong smiled slightly, condensed his sword fingers, smashed the arrows, then took out the Tianlong bow, stretched the bow and pulled the string. Sword shooting sun spell, 100,000 urgent. He shot an arrow. In an instant, it transformed into thousands of arrows, like a downpour. The power of this arrow made the bow emperor gasp. How can this person's bow and arrow skills be so exaggerated? He quickly dodged, but was still hit by several arrows. Although it was not fatal, it still frightened him. The martial emperors who were watching the battle were also stunned. The art of swordsmanship, the art of swordsmanship, the art of bow and arrow, he is actually good at all of them. And they have all reached the level of Emperor Wu. Coupled with his 9th level martial emperor strength, I can't even imagine how terrifying his combat power is. Is this guy still a human? At this time, the old monster Tianwang who was watching the battle also took action. He, who was at the 9th level of the martial emperor, joined forces with several brothers to intensify the offensive against Ling Fong. Not far away, there was an old man in black robes with eyes like lightning, staring at Ling Fong, waiting for an opportunity to move. Monster Tianwang has taken action. It seems that the pressure on Ling Fong has increased. Tisk, tisk, whether the 6 emperors of Tianwang can defeat Ling Fong depends on the strength of the old monster of Tianwang, but now it seems that it is a bit uncertain. Look, why didn't the 4th of the 6 emperors of Desolation take action that day? At this time, someone suddenly saw the 4th child fishing on the side. The opponent stood in the air. Although he was paying attention to the battle situation, he made no moves. This surprised everyone. He even doubted whether the other party was fishing for money and didn't want to take action. But someone soon denied this statement. This 4th child is not simple. Although his cultivation is not as good as the old monster Tianwang, he is proficient in poison. He is an extremely rare poison emperor. I don't know how many martial emperors have been ruined by a pair of mysterious poison hands. Don't look at it that he hasn't taken action now. In fact, he is waiting. Wait for an opportunity to deal a fatal blow to Ling Fong. Once Ling Fong is hit by his poisonous palm, it will be equivalent to death. Hearing this, everyone suddenly realized. It seems that the key to this battle is this 4th child. You can say that. Everyone continued to pay attention to the battle situation. At the same time, he was also paying some attention to the movements of the 4th child. But Ling Fong fought against 5 emperors alone and did not fall behind. He even looked calm and collected. The old monster Tianwang frowned slightly. Everyone, use your special moves. Good. The big man with the sword nodded, and then he rose into the sky. The man and the sword became one, and the cold sword intent suddenly surged out and spread out. With one strike of the knife, the sky was split into 2 halves. Open the sky with a knife. The other side. Emperor Wu threw the long stick in his hand, and saw the black ape behind him grabbing the long stick. The long stick grew with the wind, turned into a giant and smashed towards Ling Fong. It's like the weight of Mount Tai. Unstoppable. One stick can conquer mountains and rivers. There is also the Emperor Wu who plays the flute. The sound of the flute is passionate and turns into countless air blades. Not far away, the Gong Emperor stretched his bow and drew an arrow. All his energy gathered. The arrow shot through the air, mixed with the power of wind and thunder, and shot in front of Ling Fong in the blink of an eye. The old monster Tianwang exploded with all his strength and pointed out. The Tianwang finger was used again. But the power is several times that of before. 5 martial emperors joined forces to strike with all their might. Even if the Jadao martial emperor was in person, he would not dare to look down upon him, but Ling Fong stood in the air, with the corners of his mouth raised slightly and his sword finger condensed. In an instant, the wind and clouds swept across, the sun and the moon changed color, and everything in the world was condensed into one sword. It is the Piaomiao Wushwang sword code. Everything is a sword, sweeping out. The sword energy flew vertically and horizontally, tearing apart the mountains, rivers and sky. The extreme moves of the 5 martial emperors collided with each other, causing an extremely loud roar. Both sides were shaken out. Ling Fong couldn't help but take a few steps back. At this moment, the eyes of the 4th child who had been watching the battle suddenly condensed. What a good opportunity. He, who had been motionless, quickly moved. The figure was as fast as a ghost. He came up behind Ling Fong in the blink of an eye, and blasted out a palm that he had been preparing for a long time, which was mixed with extremely domineering poison. The poisonous palm landed on Ling Feng's back, and the poison eroded out. The poison contained in this palm is enough to kill tens of millions of living beings. When the martial emperors saw this, they exclaimed in surprise. Everyone feels that Ling Fong is really going to lose now. If you are hit by this palm, you will be disabled even if you don't die. Yes, Ling Fong was still careless, and this old man took advantage of him. Alas, who can resist the siege of 5 martial emperors without showing any flaws? No wonder Ling Fong, he has done a good enough job. Everyone was very sorry. It was as if he was lamenting the fall of a new generation of Emperor Wu. But some people thought thoughtfully about the sword Ling Fong used just now. That kind of sword intent, transcendent, otherworldly, ethereal and unpredictable, is similar to what White Horse Immortal described. Could it be? Emperor Wu thought of something and his eyes lit up. But at this time, on the battlefield, something unexpected happened again. Ling Fong, who everyone thought was almost certain to die after being hit by the poisonous palm, was still standing. On the other hand, Lao Si, who had taken the poisonous palm, turned pale. Look carefully. His hands were shaking slightly. Wait a minute, Ling Fong doesn't seem to have any signs of poisoning. What happened? Not to mention other people, even the other 6 emperors of Tianwang who had practiced with Lao Si for many years were puzzled. According to past experience, a martial artist who is poisoned by the 4th old man's poisonous palm will immediately become poisonous, his body will decay rapidly, and he will even die directly. But Ling Feng's expression was calm at this moment. On the other hand, the 4th child's face was pale and his arms were trembling. 4th, what's going on? Get out of there. The old monster Tianwang noticed something was wrong and shouted loudly. I can't leave. The 4th child said in horror. He wanted to leave, but he found that his palm was tightly sucked by Ling Feng's body. Not only that, his cultivation was still losing. Exactly. Swallow celestial immortal technique. Oh, you really know how to use poison on me. Ling Fong smiled and grabbed the hand of the 4th child, swallowed the celestial immortal technique and activated it at maximum power. The martial emperor cultivation of the 4th child was completely sucked dry by him in a few breaths, and he became a useless person. He fell from a high altitude and fell into pieces. Got minced meat. 4th, how can this be? Why did nothing happen to him when he was poisoned by the 4th child? Of course a few people don't know. Ling Fong has the talent to be immune to all poisons. Poison attacks are completely useless to him. Just now, he deliberately sold a flaw to the other party so that he could be deceived. Now, after absorbing the cultivation of the 4th child, his aura has greatly increased. Faintly arrived at the realm of the extreme. Not enough. It's still a little short, so let's use you to make up for it. Ling Fong looked at the remaining martial emperors with a smile. It was like looking at a few lambs waiting to be slaughtered. That look made several people shudder. Whoosh. The next moment, Ling Feng's figure disappeared from the spot and came to the sword-wielding Emperor Wu. He fiercely grabbed it with his fingers, and there seemed to be a black hole in his palm. The Emperor Wu struck hard with his sword, but it's of no use at all. On the contrary, the sword was directly thrown away, and he was also caught by Ling Fong. The true qi and cultivation in his body poured out towards Ling Fong uncontrollably. The others all took action to interrupt Ling Fong. Ling Fong did not dodge. He grabbed the Emperor Wu with one hand, clenched the 5 fingers of the other hand into a fist, and punched out, extremely domineering. The attacks of several martial emperors collapsed one after another. The sword-wielding Emperor Wu's cultivation was also completely swallowed up, and he became a useless person. He fell from the air and followed the footsteps of the 4th child, who was smashed into a pulp. Ah 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 ah. I'll fight you. Brothers died tragically one after another. The stick-wielding Emperor Wu couldn't help but let out bursts of roars, and shot towards Ling Fong like lightning, hitting out with a stick as powerful as thunder. Is it useful to shout so loudly? Ling Fong raised his hand and grabbed the long stick that was coming, his eyes indifferent. With a strong tug of his arm, he pulled the other person towards him. Swallow the celestial immortal technique and then cast it. Another martial emperor was devoured by him. At this time, the true qi in his body has reached its limit. There was a bang. An unparalleled pressure spread out with him as the center. Astonishingly, it was the Jadao martial emperor. Extreme way. The martial emperors who were watching the battle were startled by this coercion, but what shocked them even more was that Ling Feng's method of advancing to the extreme realm made them extremely frightened. Devouring other people's cultivation and advancing to the extreme. What kind of martial arts is this? Magic power. This is definitely magic power. Horrible. These spectators all felt fear. Not to mention directly facing Ling Fong and the old monsters of Tianwang. They looked at Ling Fong as if they were looking at monsters, and they had the idea of escape in their hearts. But when they thought that so many of their brothers had died at the hands of the other party, their hearts were filled with unwillingness, and the old monster Tianwang showed a cruel look in his eyes. Then he pulled out a bead. The beads were colorful and gave off a mysterious aura. That's fairy energy. It's immortal weapon. Old monster Tianwang actually has an immortal weapon hidden on his body. It's incredible. Immortal weapon, a weapon superior to the Emperor weapon. Only immortals are qualified to use it. Even the lowest level immortal weapon is the most deadly weapon for the martial artist under the Immortal. Ling Fong, you forced me to do this. Although with my cultivation, it takes 1,000 years of life to activate this 5 elements pearl once. But in order to kill you, I can't care so much. The old monster Tianwang threw up the 5 elements pearl. Suddenly, the immortal weapon bloomed with dazzling light, its power shaking the world. A colorful barrier was suddenly formed out of thin air, shrouding Ling Fong inside. At the same time, various visions emerged one after another within the barrier. There are golden sword energy rising into the sky, green vines waving, yellow sand flying, floods surging into the sky, fire spreading, burning everything. It is the power of the 5 elements. Facing this roaring force, Ling Fong pulled out Long Yuan and swung it continuously, sending sword energy flying into the air, tearing apart various visions. Chaos Fist, Flying Immortal Sword Technique, Immortal King Dharma Body, Ruthless Sword Technique, and even exhaling breath into a sword, 10,000 Sword Technique. A variety of powerful moves are displayed in Ling Feng's hands. No duplicates. Everyone was dazzled. Where did this guy learn so many powerful martial arts, and even spells? Isn't this thing unique to the immortal world? Good boy. Ordinary people would spend a lifetime studying one thing, but he is good at it. He throws out all kinds of imperial arts and spells like cabbage. His master is definitely an extremely terrifying existence. There is also the sword intent just now. I think that the existence that Immortal White Horse wants us to find may be able to get clues from this person. In the 5 elements boundary, Ling Fong holds Long Yuan in his hand and uses his moves freely to withstand the power of the 5 elements. But this is an immortal weapon after all. Even if he is now promoted to the Yakuza, it will take a while to destroy him. Second brother, third brother. I'll trap him, and you go kill the others. I want the entire White Cloud sect to be buried with 7th brother and the others. At this time, the old monster Tianwang roared. Hearing this, the other 2 martial emperors nodded and also wanted to take action. But this time, within the 5 elements barrier, Ling Feng's eyes suddenly became extremely cold. A cold murderous intention spread out with him as the center. The surroundings seemed to be dragged into sheer hell. If you want to touch the White Cloud sect, you have to ask me. Ding. Closing square bracket. Dragon has reverse scales, which will make you angry if you touch it. It is detected that the host is enraged and has murderous intentions, and rewards the host Shira with the murderous intention. Closing square bracket. Shira's murderous heart, murderous intention arises, the world is cold. Transform into Shira. There is nothing in the world and no one can't be killed. The stronger the host's murderous intention, the higher its combat power. Closing square bracket. Shira's heart to kill has the same talent as his heart to fight. However, facing the 7 emperors of the wild world, Ling Fong didn't have much fighting spirit, so the fighting spirit was not very effective. But Shira's murderous intention was different. These people actually wanted to attack White Cloud sect. This made Ling Feng's murderous intention rise, and his combat power also skyrocketed. System. I remember I still have a weapon enhancement card that I haven't used, right? Use it on Long Yuan. Ling Fong said coldly. Yes, the weapon enhancement card is being used, successfully used. Congratulations to the host for successfully strengthening it 1,000 times. Closing square bracket. Boom. The dragon abyss in Ling Feng's hand suddenly bloomed with golden celestial light, and a burst of sword pressure swept out, directly shaking the entire 5 elements barrier. Give it to me, broken. Ling Fong slashed out with his sword. The sword energy was like a dragon, landing on the 5 elements pearl. Click. With a crisp sound, the 5 elements pearl cracked directly and then exploded. An immortal weapon, just turned into ashes. The immortal weapon was shattered, and the controller, old monster Tianwang, also suffered backlash. He spat out a mouthful of blood and turned pale. Immortal weapon, you actually have a mortal weapon in your hand, he said in disbelief. Ling Fong had already disappeared before his eyes, and the next moment, he came to him, grabbed it with 5 fingers, and swallowed the celestial immortal technique to explode instantly. The old monster Tianwang, who had been severely injured, had almost no ability to resist, and his cultivation was swallowed up in an instant. Seeing this, the other 2 people didn't bother to attack the White Cloud sect people. Turn around and run away. But unfortunately it's too late. Ling Fong raised his hand, and a terrifying suction force burst out from his palm. This force enveloped the world, leaving the 2 martial emperors with no chance to escape. Their bodies moved uncontrollably towards Ling Fong. Then the cultivation level poured out and was swallowed up. The 2 people turned into useless people, fell from the air, and were smashed into a pulp. So far, the 6 emperors of the wilderness are coming with force. But he met a tragic end. Ling Fong stood in the sky, and the aura of the Jadao martial emperor shook the world. It's like the immortal king has come to this world to suppress the 9 heavens and 10 earths. All the Emperor Wu who witnessed this battle were afraid of him in their hearts. What a scary guy. Even if the emperors revive, this person will still be the best. In the history of the Sky Realm, there has never been such a terrifying martial emperor. The war is over. Everyone in White Cloud sect was happy and congratulated Ling Fong. Congratulations, junior brother, on your promotion to the Jadao martial emperor. Congratulations, senior brother. Haha, I, White Cloud sect, have senior brother Ling Fong, who is invincible in the world. Senior brother Ling Fong is strong and handsome, who can't love him? Senior brother, look at me, I want to give you a child. Humph, you prodigals, please restrain yourself. The bitter tea seeds are about to fall out. Junior brother Ling Fong will not fall in love with you. Junior brother Ling Fong belongs to everyone. Looking at the enthusiastic junior brothers and sisters, Ling Feng's head was a little big, and he felt that even the Supreme Martial Emperor himself couldn't handle it. After dealing with it for a while, he returned to Piaomiao Peak in a swish. After he left, everyone's enthusiasm gradually cooled down. They were lost in thought. Feng Xiaoyao said calmly, "Junior brother is getting stronger and stronger. If we don't work hard to practice, we will be held back one day. Yeah, in a battle like today, we can only watch, we can't even go up to help. We are really useless. It's not a bad thing to recognize yourself, but more importantly, we have to work hard to practice. Even if we can't keep up with our junior brother, we can't be left too far behind. That's right, even if you can't help in the future, you still need to be able to cheer from the side. Otherwise, you won't even be qualified to stand by in the future. How sad that would be. Everyone, Please work hard. I'm going back to retreat first. I also want to go back to retreat. That's all. Ling Fong unknowingly became the motivation for the entire White Cloud sect disciples to practice. Devouring 6 martial emperors in a row. Ling Feng's strength has reached the level of the Jadao martial emperor. Not only that, even among the Jadao martial emperor, his strength is particularly amazing. Vaguely, Ling Fong has already felt that a force is secretly gathering in this world, ready to rain down on him at any time. That's a catastrophe. Ascension must survive the catastrophe before becoming an immortal. After returning to Piaomiao Peak, Ling Fong digested the power of the 6 martial emperors. Then he looked at the sky with a trace of expectation in his eyes. Heavenly tribulation. Interesting. Then let me wait and see. Ling Fong smiled slightly and looked forward to it secretly. Day by day passed. No one will come to White Cloud sect to find trouble again. After all, Ling Feng's killing of the 7 emperors of heaven was so shocking that even Emperor Wu would definitely die if he met him. How could anyone dare to seek death? But beneath this calm exterior, there is an undercurrent. On top of a mountain peak, dozens of martial emperors gathered together, including several who were stronger than the old monster Tianwang and who were at the pinnacle of martial emperors, the extreme martial emperors. One of the leaders was sitting cross-legged on a white lotus. He had gray hair and a jade-like face, but there was a hint of evil in his handsomeness. Everyone was secretly surprised when they saw him. It's Emperor Balian. Tisk, this man became famous 10,000 years ago, and now he has advanced to the extreme realm. He can be said to be the oldest martial emperor existing in the firmament realm. He's summoned as, what's the matter? Listen to him, it's related to the reopening of heaven. Everyone looked at Emperor Balian, waiting for him to give them an explanation. The White Lotus martial emperor smiled lightly. Everyone, you should all know the request of Immortal White Horse. Find Immortal Lu and bring him to him. But after everyone has been searching for so long, do you have any clues about Lu Xian? Everyone looked at each other. A martial emperor shook his head and said, no, there are so many people named Lu in the world. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. How to find one? Oh, to be honest with you, I already have an idea. Oh, please give me some advice from Emperor Bai Lian. White Horse Immortal said that this Lu Xian is good at swordsmanship. The sword intent is ethereal and unpredictable, and he is addicted to alcohol. Do you still remember that when Ling Fong faced off against the 7 emperors of heaven, the sword intent he displayed was accompanied by a what a misty idea. Not only that, I also found out that Ling Feng's master's name is Lu Rusi, and he is also an alcoholic. Emperor Bai Lian smiled lightly. As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes lit up. So, this Lu Rusi is Lu Xian. It's very possible. Let me tell you why Ling Fong is so perverted at such a young age. It turns out he has an immortal as his backer. Wait a minute, if you can teach such a perverted apprentice like Ling Fong, this master's strength is obviously more unfathomable. How can we catch her? Everyone's faces showed sadness again. But when the White Lotus martial emperor raised his hand, a formation diagram spread out. He smiled and said, this is the White Lotus formation of 1,000 emperors. It was created by me after 10,000 years of study. It can bring together the cultivation of all the emperors, and the Lu Xian living in the lower world. His strength will definitely not reach the level of an immortal. As long as we join forces, we may not have no chance. Looking at the formation diagram in his hand, everyone still had doubts in their hearts. If you have any doubts, you can try the mystery of this formation first. Emperor Balian was seen throwing the formation diagram in his hand into the sky. In an instant, the formation diagram spread out and turned into a huge formation barrier. Within the barrier, white lotuses bloomed, dazzling and dazzling. The emperors were within the formation, and they felt that they had a little more resonance with the others. Between the flow of power, they could actually integrated union with each other. What a mysterious formation. It's indeed mysterious, but I don't know how powerful it is. The emperors' eyes lit up, and they immediately began to test the power of the formation. After some testing, they couldn't help but gasp. The power of this formation was even greater than they imagined. Good guy, I didn't expect Emperor Bai Lian to actually develop such a terrifying formation. Now, there is hope for catching Lu Xian. There is hope for the opening of heaven again. Very good. Emperor Balian smiled faintly, with a strange color flashing in his eyes. But no one noticed it. In that case, let's agree on a time to do it. It's not too late, the sooner this happens, the better. In that case, let's take action in 3 days. At that time, we will find a way to lure Rusi out, and then use the formation to trap him. Good. White Cloud Sect. Misty Peak. Ling Fong turned his palm into a sword and was sparring with Murong Shui, teaching the other party's ruthless sword skills. Under his guidance, the other party has made rapid progress these days. From ruthless to sentient, the smiles on his face gradually grew. No longer as cold and frosty as before. Very good. At this rate, Miss Murong, you will be promoted to Martial Emperor in a few years. Ling Fong smiled. This is all due to your good advice, Ling Fong. By the way, Ling Fong, you don't need to call me Miss Murong from now on. It's a bit more polite. If possible, I hope you can call me Xiao Shui or Shui. Murong Shui put away the long knife, and then said with a hint of blush on her face. It is already obvious that she wants to get closer to Ling Fong. No matter how straight Ling Fong is, he can still see it. He coughed twice and thought for a moment, then I'll call you Sister Shui. Sister. Still not close enough. Isn't this the same as senior sisters like Ji Yu Linglong and Lang Ning Shuang? There was a hint of disappointment in Murong Shui's eyes, but she quickly smiled and said, that's good, it looks much closer than Miss Murong. Not in a hurry. Murong Shui, take your time. Eat the food one bite at a time. People also need step-by-step strategies. Murong Shui secretly cheered herself up. Sister Shui, it's almost noon, let's go eat first. That's fine. When Murong Shui heard Ling Feng's name, her brows lit up with joy. Her steps became much more brisk, and then she followed Ling Feng to the kitchen and started working. Although her cooking skills are not as good as Ling Feng's, she still has no problem getting started. But soon, Ji Yu Linglong and Lang Ningshuang also came to help. The 3 women were staying in the kitchen, some were washing vegetables, some were killing fish, and one was preparing dishes and chopsticks nearby. There seemed to be some kind of competition between them as they looked at each other. Rusi walked out of the room and couldn't help blinking when he saw this scene. Good guy, how can you make a meal feel like a life and death battle? Master, get up and you can eat later. Oh, I'm going out to eat today. Rusi said. Hearing this, Ling Fong was stunned for a moment. Did he hear it correctly? Rusi wants to go out to eat. Was it the food he cooked that didn't taste good, or did Rusi take the wrong medicine? Master, where are you going to eat? Ling Fong asked lightly, but there was a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. He wanted to see which restaurant's food was more delicious than his. Oh, I went to Zhexianlu to eat. They recently held a wine tasting event. As long as you can taste any wine, you can get it for free. It's quite interesting. When Ling Fong heard this, he suddenly realized. It turned out that I went there for the wine. This makes sense. Ling Fong and others are almost done cooking. However, Rusi couldn't wait to attend the wine tasting conference, so Ling Fong and others did not stop her and let her go. Master, let's make a deal first, we won't leave any food for you. Ling Fong said calmly when Rusi was about to walk out of the door. Rusi paused. Then she turned around and ran back to the dining table, pulled off 2 chicken legs, and then disappeared in a flash. Looking at the roast chicken with 2 legs missing, the corner of Ling Feng's mouth twitched. Nothing serious about master. No. When Ji Yu Linglong and the other girls saw this, they smiled slightly and didn't pay much attention. They have long been accustomed to Rusi's behavior. Elder Lu is such a cool person. He is obviously very powerful and can completely surpass everyone, but he still lives his life as he pleases. It's great. Ji Yu Linglong said with emotion. What's cool about it? It's obviously sloppy. Ling Feng curled his lips. Then a few people sat at the dining table and started eating. At the same time, in a city at the foot of White Cloud Sect Mountain, a wine tasting event was being held at Zhexian Tower. Rusi came to participate in the event while chewing on chicken legs. Bring me the wine. Rusi laughed and threw the chicken bones in his hand behind him. It fell directly on the head of a wild dog. The wild dog was startled at first, and then rushed up to chew the bones. Wild dog, thank God for the gift. Inside the Zhexian Tower, There were various kinds of wine on a big table. Rusi was eager to try it. He picked up a bowl and drank it all in one gulp. Well, the aroma of the wine is refreshing, with a sweet aftertaste, and a faint fragrance of bamboo leaves. This is bamboo leaves or green. Congratulations to Elder Lu, you got the answer right. Next bowl. Rusi picked up another bowl of wine and drank it all in one gulp. Fruit y aroma and soft entrance, this is mint stuffed rice. Well, Lai Ruhuo, this is the general's order. The smell of alcohol is burning, and there seems to be a knife cutting in my chest, burning knife. This is Zhexianlu's #1 wine, Zhexian Brew. Bowl after bowl of Rusi. Every time she drank a bowl, she could accurately tell the characteristics and name of the wine, which attracted applause from everyone around her. Soon, she drank most of the wine on the table. But as she finished the last bowl of wine, her expression froze, and she felt a strange force burst out in her body, locking her meridians like shackles. She was unknowingly poisoned. Interesting. Each bowl of wine is mixed with a kind of medicine. If you drink 1 or 2 bowls alone, there is no problem. But if you drink them all, it will be highly toxic. Block the body. Ha ha ha, everyone, I have finished drinking the wine. Aren't you coming out yet? Rusi threw the last wine bowl on the ground. Then he sat directly on the wine table and smiled. Suddenly, waves of strong true chi fluctuations emitted from the void, completely sealing off the surrounding world. When everyone saw this, they took a breath of air conditioning, knowing that they were not able to interfere with the matter, so they ran away and hid far away. Ha, after being hit by my 7 insects and 7 flowers Zhexian powder, Miss Lu can still talk and laugh like this. She is indeed a strange woman. An old man smiled lightly. Rusi glanced at him and said, Old man, the wine is good, but it's a pity that this is just to seal me off. It's too underestimated. Of course we won't be careless about someone who can be valued by a mortal white horse. We have prepared another gift for you. Next to the old man, Emperor Balian, who was sitting on the lotus platform, smiled. I saw him spreading his hands, and a formation picture rose into the air. The surroundings suddenly turned into delicate and dazzling white lotuses. Rusi was in the center of the sea of flowers and even had the mood to pick one. However, the white lotus quickly turned into little bits of spiritual power and dissipated. She smiled and said, Interesting, this is a formation. It seems that we can gather the power of you people together. Emperor Balian's eyes narrowed and he was extremely surprised. He has studied this formation for thousands of years. But Rusi can see through its essence with just one glance. This vision and knowledge are many times better than his. It doesn't matter if you can see the essence of the formation, can you handle it? I advise you to come with us honestly, otherwise, I can't guarantee that you won't lose your arms and legs. After all, White Horse Immortal, he just asked us to take you there, but he didn't say whether you would live or die, or be disabled. Emperor Balian said calmly. There was a smile on his lips, but there was an extremely cold aura, and the appearance of a white bone bodhisattva was slowly looming behind him. Rusi still had no fear at all. To her, neither poison nor the white lotus formation posed any threat. She could leave anytime she wanted. You lured me out in the name of a wine-tasting party, and I didn't even eat lunch. Are you doing this because you are afraid of my good disciple? Rusi smiled. Mentioning this, the expressions of all the emperors present became solemn. They still don't know what Rusi's strength is. But it was obvious to all of them how terrifying Ling Fong was. When the 7 emperors of heaven and earth came together, they were all sucked clean by each other. If possible, they really don't want to confront each other head-on. Don't delay any longer, Miss Lu, let's capture her without mercy. Emperor Balian snorted lightly. When he raised his hand, a white lotus floated in his palm, which contained terrifying power. There was even a human face looming on the petals. Hey, it seems you don't know my disciple well enough. Rusi smiled slightly, then took a deep breath and shouted to the sky, Good disciple, help. The sound is like rolling thunder, and with the blessing of true chi, it spreads throughout hundreds of miles. Everyone was shocked. How is it possible? After being poisoned by me, how could there be such a majestic true chi? The old man screamed in horror. White Cloud Sect. On Piao Miao Peak, Ling Fong had just finished eating. The other girls were washing dishes, among them Lang Ningxuang and Ji Yulinglong had made a lot of progress. At least they no longer broke a bunch of pots and pans when washing dishes. At this time, Ling Fong, who was digesting food outside the house, heard a voice in his ear. That's Lu Rusi's voice. Although it was weak, he still caught it. Clairvoyance and ears for the wind are opened. In the distant city, the scene of Lu Rusi trapped in the formation barrier came into view. He was shocked and turned into a stream of light. But then, he came back to his senses. Master is so strong, how did these martial emperors catch her? He doubted that even if these emperors came together, they wouldn't be able to hurt Lu Rusi. But don't be afraid of 10,000 things, just be afraid of the unexpected. So he decided to take a trip inside the Zaxian Tower. Quick, do it! Emperor Balian and others quickly took action to capture Lu Rusi, and even tried to severely injure him, using all kinds of tricks to directly attack him. That is at this time. A dragon's roar echoed through the sky. A sword with endless sword pressure was inserted in front of Lu Rusi. True Qi swept, and all the martial emperor's attacks were neutralized. Exactly, the 7-star Longyuan sword. The clouds are rolling in the sky, and at the end of the sea of clouds, Ling Fong is coming from the sky. What's going on? It's coming so fast. No one has this speed. The emperors were shocked and alert. Looking at Lu Rusi trapped in the formation, Ling Fong was furious. Although this master is addicted to alcohol, is not serious, and is unreliable. He often exploits himself to cook for her, and even eats his own tofu from time to time. But no matter what, this is also his master. Now, someone actually wants to attack her. Simply looking for death. Ling Feng's eyes flashed with blood, and murderous intent poured out like a violent wave. Under the influence of Shira's murderous heart, his combat power increased steadily, and his figure flashed like a ghost and came directly into the formation. Before he could say anything, a soft jade-like figure threw herself into his arms. It was Lu Rusi. She said aggrievedly, "My dear disciple, you are here, these people want to kill me, I am so scared." The emperors were stunned when they saw this. Good guy. He was calm just now, as if he didn't take everyone seriously. Why did she suddenly turn into a weak woman who seemed powerless? You can pretend hard. Ling Fong comforted. Master, don't worry, I'm here, no one can hurt you, these people. I will make them pay the price. After saying that, he turned to look at the emperors, raised his hand, and the 7-star Longyuan sword flew into his hand, bursting out with extreme sword pressure. Ling Fong said calmly, "Are you going to commit suicide or should I send you on your way?" "Ha ha ha, boy, you are so arrogant." A Jadao martial emperor laughed and then took a step towards Ling Fong. With one punch, it was like a continent being suppressed. When Ling Fong saw this, his expression was indifferent. He slashed out with his sword, and the sword energy turned into a beam of light, directly tearing the fist force that looked like a big state in half. Not only that, the Emperor Wu who took action shrank his pupils and took dozens of steps back frantically, but he was still one step slower. Half of the palm was cut off directly by the sword energy. They were both extremely powerful, but half of his hand was cut off in the first moment of the fight. This situation made everyone present even more solemn. Emperor Balian said calmly, "Let's take action together. Yes, let's suppress this boy together. HMPH, now it's not just him being dealt with by the 7 emperors of heaven, but all the martial emperors from the entire firmament realm are coming out. I want to see how he can handle it." With the help of the White Lotus array, everyone's true chi spurted out and resonated continuously in the void. Then, a huge white lotus flower appeared on the ground, and in the center of the lotus, there were 2 people, Ling Fong and Lu Rusi. I saw the petals of the lotus gradually closing and moving towards Ling Fong and the 2 of them. Each petal is like a sky. The terrifying aura made Ling Fong feel an unprecedented pressure, but Lu Rusi next to him still looked like the old god was there. I didn't feel any pressure at all. Looking at the petals, there was a sword energy gathering on her fingertips that seemed to tear the world apart. She was secretly preparing to take action once Ling Fong could no longer hold on. However, Ling Fong has always exceeded others' expectations. Facing Bai Lian, who was being mobilized by dozens or hundreds of martial emperors, although his face showed a little solemnity, he did not panic at all. Holding the immortal sword Long Yuan in his hand, the sword intent on his body soars into the sky. Fighting intent, killing intent, sword intent. It continued to vent like a tide. With the blessing of Fighting Heart and Shira's Killing Heart, the power of his sword energy gradually skyrocketed. Taste my sword, it's incomparable. The power of the Piaomiao Wushuang Sword Codex has been raised to the extreme. No one saw clearly how Ling Fong drew his sword. They could only see that in the next moment, the world was filled with the fierce and domineering infinite sword energy. Like an endless hurricane, sweeping away everything around crazily. For a while, the white petals burst one after another under the impact of the sword energy. The giant white lotus exploded into pieces. In the storm of sword energy, Ling Fong stood with a sword in his hand. His figure was like a god or a demon. His endless pressure made all the emperors present feel numb. No way, it's so exaggerated. Dozens or hundreds of martial emperors joined forces and cooperated with the White Lotus array, but they couldn't do anything to him. Is this guy a monster? Ma Dan, I have never seen such a person before. At this time, the White Lotus martial emperor sitting cross-legged on the White Lotus platform shouted in a low voice, "Everyone, this kid is difficult to subdue, let me use your strength." In an instant, the magic circle was operating, and the martial emperor in the magic circle felt that the power in his body was uncontrollably gathering towards the White Lotus martial emperor. In just a few breaths, his cultivation level continued to decline, and there was a tendency to turn from the martial emperor to a useless person. All the martial emperors couldn't help but panic. White Lotus martial emperor, what do you mean? You haven't said anything about this before. Give us your cultivation back. There was a martial emperor who wanted to take action, but the light emitted from the lotus platform where the White Lotus martial emperor sat was bounced away. He could only watch his own cultivation being swallowed up. We have fallen into a trap. The White Lotus martial emperor is actually so vicious. Not only does he want to deal with Ling Fong, he also wants to absorb our cultivation. All the martial emperors scolded him endlessly. Ling Fong watched with interest from the side. It's interesting. This White Lotus array can actually produce a similar effect to the celestial immortal technique I swallowed. Sure enough, there are many capable people in this world. Suddenly, the White Lotus martial emperor, who had devoured everyone's cultivation, took action. He and the lotus platform beneath him disappeared from the spot. When they appeared the next second, they had already arrived in front of Ling Fong. With a palm falling, they gathered many martial emperor's powers. Ling Fong did not retreat or evade, but also struck out with a palm. Boom! The moment the two sides faced each other, it was like stars colliding, and the world was in turmoil. Then both sides retreated. Emperor Balian took 2 steps back, and Ling Fong took 5 steps back. The strength of both sides is clear at a glance. Ha ha ha, Ling Fong, you are no longer my opponent. Whoosh! The White Lotus Emperor came to Ling Fong again. The same palm was stronger than before. White lotus petals surrounded him, and each petal seemed to contain the weight of a star. Die to me. Ling Fong also struck out with a palm. But the moment the palm was released, its power suddenly increased dozens or hundreds of times. Lucky crit. Boom. Emperor Balian's palm exploded to pieces, and he flew backwards at a faster speed, spitting blood in the air, and smashed more than a dozen mountains in succession. And the White Lotus array also collapsed. Everyone was stunned. What happened? He was at a disadvantage just now. How could he defeat the White Lotus martial emperor in an instant? Is this Ling Fong cheating? How is this possible? Why do you still hide such power? Emperor Balian stood up from the ruins and couldn't believe it. Ling Fong looked at his hand and was slightly surprised. He did not expect that the lucky critical strike effect would be triggered at this moment. He smiled slightly, then flashed like a ghost, came to the front of the White Lotus martial emperor, thrust out his palms, and grabbed the opponent's head. The opponent who had been severely injured was unable to resist at all. He could only watch helplessly as the big palm that seemed to contain a black hole covered his head. I accept the power of hundreds of martial emperors in your body. Ling Fong smiled and activated the celestial immortal technique. Boom! The terrifying true qi cultivation level crazily poured into his body. At this moment, Ling Fong couldn't help but feel unprecedented pleasure. Chapter 111. The cultivation of hundreds of martial emperors poured into Ling Feng's body like an endless torrent, making him feel unprecedented pleasure. But then, the meridians in his body began to feel like they were tearing apart. The body actually started to crack. Blood splattered out. Seeing this, Emperor Bai Lian, whose cultivation was being devoured, laughed. Ling Fong, you are too greedy. How can you bear the cultivation of hundreds of emperors? I can bear it because I sitting on the lotus platform, you will bear it with me, but what about you? Now, just wait for your body to explode and die. If you want to absorb my cultivation, I'll give it to you. Emperor Balian grabbed Ling Feng's hand. He actually took the initiative to pour all his cultivation into Ling Feng's body. Oh, thank you very much. When Ling Feng saw this, a smile appeared on his face. Regardless of physical injuries, he continued to devour the cultivation of Emperor White Lotus. As the number of wounds increased, a magical power surged out of his body, and the wounds healed quickly. Exactly, immortality. Emperor Balian took a breath of air when he saw this. What kind of physique is this? What kind of monster are you? Ling Feng smiled and did not answer. Emperor Balian gritted his teeth and accelerated the input of cultivation into Ling Feng's body. I don't believe you can really withstand such power. An endless stream of true qi cultivation continues to pour into Ling Feng's body. This power is enough to explode any existence in the sky world. But Ling Feng's immortality works quickly. A wound often appears and is healed in the next second. You can't die at all. But even though he couldn't die, the martial emperor's cultivation was unable to withstand it because his physical body was not strong enough and kept pouring out from the wound. Ling Feng frowned. If this continues, a lot of energy will be wasted. Ding. It is detected that the host is devouring hundreds of martial emperor cultivation levels regardless of danger. The courage is commendable. The host is rewarded with an indestructible body. Closing square bracket. At this time, the system sound sounded. Ling Feng only saw a layer of golden light glowing on his body. It actually exudes an immutable and terrifying mood. True qi, which was wreaking havoc in his body, could no longer cause any damage to his meridians. He was swallowed by the celestial immortal art and quickly refined. Emperor White Lotus couldn't help but be stunned when he saw that Ling Feng's body no longer had wounds and that his body was emitting golden light, like a Vajra Arhat. How many trump cards does this guy have? He could no longer remain calm. With a low drink, true qi spurted out from behind him, interweaving continuously, and quickly formed the shadow of a white bone bodhisattva. Compassion and evil, two completely different auras intertwined, were extremely contradictory, and made people feel twisted. Buddha and devil are one body, white bones and divine claws. Emperor Bai Lian drank lowly. Behind him, the white bone bodhisattva raised his giant bone claw and smashed it hard at Ling Feng. Ling Feng faced this blow and refused to dodge. Still firmly grasping Emperor Bai Lian's hand and devouring his cultivation. Emperor Balian showed a cruel look in his eyes. So greedy. This Ling Feng is so greedy. Faced with such an attack, he actually wanted to devour true qi's cultivation. Court death. Boom. The white bone divine claw hit Ling Feng's head directly without any deviation, making a loud noise and causing smoke and dust to roll out. Success. Emperor Balian's eyes lit up. But then, he discovered that the suction that enveloped him had not weakened at all. When the smoke and dust dissipated, Ling Feng was still standing in front of him, unscathed. His head exudes a faint golden light, as if it is indestructible. Not only that, the divine claw of the white bone bodhisattva made a crisp sound, and then cracks gradually spread. Under the stunned expression of Emperor White Lotus, the bone bodhisattva suddenly shattered. Emperor Balian was so shocked that he could not speak. Even the strongest martial emperor in the firmament realm would not dare to take a blow with all his strength, but Ling Feng stood still and relied on his physical body to bear it, and he was actually unscathed. Your claws are just average. Are you tickling me? Ling Feng said indifferently. Then the celestial immortal formula is swallowed into the body and operates at maximum power. Emperor Bai Lian's cultivation suddenly rushed towards Ling Feng like a tide. He knew that if he continued like this, he would definitely die. He roared angrily and cut off an arm. Boom. The White Lotus martial emperor retreated quickly. At the same time, white light emitted from the lotus platform under his seat, shrouding him and taking him away. However, Ling Feng smiled faintly and his figure flashed. Even faster than the White Lotus Martial Emperor, he came directly in front of him and blasted out with a palm, shattering the light from the Lotus platform. I haven't devoured all your power yet. Why are you anxious? Ling Fong smiled. 5 fingers grasped the head of White Lotus Martial Emperor, absorbing all the last power in his body. The cultivation of hundreds of martial emperors gathered in Ling Fong, causing his true chi pressure to continue to surge. The void seemed to twist around him. But he squinted his eyes, with unprecedented pleasure on his face. Vaguely, he felt that his catastrophe was coming. Boom! Suddenly, a white light suddenly flew from the distance, and its power was so terrifying that the mountains, rivers and land were shattered wherever it went. The power of this ray of light is much stronger than that of the White Lotus Martial Emperor. It even contains an aura that is superior to that of Emperor Wu. That is, the breath of immortality. The one who takes action as an immortal. Ling Feng's eyes narrowed slightly, the long yuan sword in his hand burst out with blazing sword light, and the true chi as majestic as the ocean surged out of his body. The sword energy was like a rainbow, hitting the white fairy light and shattering it. Far away, a figure came riding a white horse, a dazzling fairy light shining on the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It was the white horse fairy who came to the sky world. His pressure was like a torrent, causing the whole world to tremble violently. He glanced at Ling Fong and said calmly, "This kind of cultivation is not bad. Is this all the power of an immortal?" Ling Fong smiled playfully. Facing the immortal, he still didn't panic at all. "Interesting kid, it's a pity that I'm not looking for you today, but the person behind you. Lu Xian." The white horse immortal looked at Lu Rusi and smiled faintly. "Tens of thousands of years ago, I was lucky enough to witness the grace of Lu Rusi. I didn't expect that we would see you again tens of thousands of years later, but in this small lower world, and you are not the immortal world that you used to be. The peerless immortal emperor is just a mortal in the lower realm. It's really disappointing." "Good. Mortal. In the eyes of a mortal white horse, as long as you don't become an immortal, you will always be immortal. He can kill countless mortals with just one finger. Among them, there are also so-called martial emperors like Bai Lian Martial Emperor." White horse. "Oh, I seem to have some impression. I seem to have seen you tens of thousands of years ago. At that time, it seemed to be a golden immortal. Why did you go back to life as you lived, and now you have become a little flying fairy?" Lu Rusi looked at the white horse immortal and played with the taste. "I am still the golden immortal. As for what is in front of you now, it is just an incarnation of me, but this incarnation is enough to kill you." "Wait. You said you're still a golden immortal." "Yes, but we are only one step away from the immortal king." A look of pride appeared on immortal white horse's face. "Once you become the immortal king, you will become a powerful person in the immortal world." Lu Rusi looked at the arrogant white horse immortal, with a strange look on his face, and said, "Tens of thousands of years have passed, and you are still a golden immortal. My God, in so many years, you have lived like a dog. Did it go to your body? Why are you so useless? I have only been practicing for tens of thousands of years, and I have beaten those immortal emperors to the ground countless times." After being ridiculed by Lu Rusi, White Horse Immortal's expression suddenly changed. "Do you think everyone is as perverted as you? Can you become an immortal emperor after practicing for tens of thousands of years?" "Depend on. I have to admit that Lu Rusi's talent is much better than him." Thinking of this, Immortal White Horse felt angry and jealous in his heart. "So what, Lu Rusi, you are just immortal now. Killing you is like killing an ant." The White Horse Immortal hummed softly, and then pointed towards Lu Rusi. White fairy light condenses on the fingertips. The pressure is mighty. But before the sword fell on Lu Rusi, he was stopped by a figure. It was Ling Fong who took action. He slashed out with his sword, but the White Horse Immortal's finger was blocked by him. When everyone saw this, their pupils could not help but shrink. "Good guy, he can actually compete with an immortal now. This is too perverted." Ling Fong stood in front of Lu Rusi and said calmly, "If you want to deal with my master, you can, but you have to pass me first. Boy, do you really think it takes any effort for me to defeat you? Besides, you don't have time to take care of yourself now." Immortal White Horse looked at Ling Fong, smiled and said, "The disaster is coming." His words trailed off. I saw endless dark clouds gathering above Ling Feng's head. Thunder and lightning surged among them, making a shocking roar. It's a catastrophe. After devouring hundreds of martial emperors, Ling Fong finally couldn't contain the surging power in his body and caused his own natural disaster. Moreover, the power of this disaster is beyond scale. Dark clouds surged, covering thousands of miles in diameter. Even White Horse Immortal was a little frightened when he saw it. For an ordinary martial artist transcending tribulation, if the tribulation covers a radius of 100 miles, he is considered a top genius. This guy's tribulation actually covers a radius of thousands of miles. It is incredible. Ha, whose apprentice do you think he is? Rusi laughed and said. At this time, White Horse Immortal suddenly took action, but the target was not Rusi, but Ling Fong. This child's calamity is too astonishing. It shows that his potential is extraordinary. Once he is allowed to ascension to the immortal world, he may become a big trouble in the future. It must be killed here. He clapped his palms together, and a white fairy rainbow shot out of the sky. Ling Fong was concentrating on guarding against the catastrophe, when a white fairy rainbow suddenly flew towards him, which made him quite stunned. At this moment, a sword light slashed out from his side. The fairy rainbow is broken. Rusi stepped forward and stood in front of Ling Fong. Suddenly, he exuded a terrifying sword intent that overwhelmed the 9 heavens and 10 earth, shaking the whole world. This sword intent triggers thousands of sword energies in the world to come towards you. Majestic and majestic, good disciple, do your best in transcending tribulation, and leave the rest to your master. Rusi smiled slightly. When the others saw this, they gasped, especially Emperor Wu, who had poisoned Rusi before. He was trembling all over. Wasn't she poisoned and her body locked? How could she have such a terrifying aura? Quote, her cultivation far exceeds that of Emperor Wu. Became an immortal. Can't you see? This Rusi is not something we can handle at all. Everything about being poisoned and being locked up is all fake. From the beginning, everything was under her control. She was just playing tricks on us. Some martial artists couldn't help but said sadly. Immortal White Horse looked at Rusi with solemn eyes. You don't have any immortal power in your body. You are definitely not an immortal. But even an immortal does not have this level of sword intent. How did you do it? Bama kid, today I'm here to teach you what it means. Your uncle, oh no, your mother, you're still your mother. Ah, I don't have a useless son like you. Rusi sighed. Then the sword fingers condensed, a sword shot out of the air, and the sword energy transformed into thousands. In an instant, the billowing torrent of sword energy enveloped the White Horse Immortal. The white horse under the White Horse Immortal's crotch suddenly neighed, and then emitted a brilliant fairy light, turning into scales and covering the White Horse Immortal's body. Thousands of sword energy struck him, making a clanging sound. Oh, this is your White Horse armor. That's right. Although it's just a textile, it can still be regarded as a high-grade immortal weapon. With this armor, you can't hurt me at all. The White Horse Immortal said confidently. Yeah. Try it. Rusi smiled faintly, with a more confident smile on her face than the White Horse Immortal. She saw her sword fingers condensed, and the infinite sword energy gathered again. In the blink of an eye, a 10,000-foot-long sword shadow formed and crashed down. In addition to the sword intent, it also contains a terrifying power that is superior to the sword intent. That is Devouring that only immortals can master. What? You actually mastered the immortal Devouring in a mortal body? This is impossible. How did you do it? Immortal White Horse punched out his fists to block the sword energy, but was knocked back dozens of steps and looked at Rusi in shock. Immortal Devouring, only immortals can understand it. Even ordinary flying immortals are not even qualified to comprehend. Only by reaching the realm of Earth Immortal can they use it and master Devouring as immortal. This was his first time seeing it. Don't forget, I was an immortal emperor before. Mastering Devouring, what does it matter? How about I show you the power of the law? Rusi said disdainfully. Immortal White Horse's body trembled. Law. You can still use the power of law. No, you are lying to me. Only immortal venerable can master the law. It is incredible that you, a mortal, can master Devouring. It is impossible to master the law. Quote. The White Horse Immortal shook his head repeatedly and denied Rusi's words. Then, he continued to attack Rusi with all his strength. Even if I can use Devouring, how long can your mortal body withstand it? You will die here eventually. And as long as I kill you, I can claim credit from several immortal emperors, and when the time comes, I will be promoted to immortal king. Isn't it easy? The white horse immortal laughed. There was deep anticipation in his eyes. Boom! At this time, a bolt of thunder suddenly descended from the sky. Ling Feng's catastrophe has begun. The thunder from the sky was as thick as a bucket, striking at Ling Fong, but his unruly flesh and bones faced the sky coldly, neither retreating nor avoiding. There is golden light flowing out of the body, which is the body of indestructible golden light. The thunder struck on it, completely unable to cause any harm to him. He patted his chest. Can it be stronger? Boom, boom, boom. Heaven's thunder tribulation seems to be stimulated, and its power is several points stronger. Thunder and lightning continued to fall. Ling Fong is bathed in the thunder light. The golden light does not break the body and shines brightly. Just like an immovable and immortal Vajra Arhat. Ding. Closing square bracket. The host's first transcending tribulation, showing extraordinary courage, showing no weakness in the face of the tribulation, rewarding the host, the heavenly thunder body tempering method. Closing square bracket. Tianlei body tempering Dafa. It sounds very cool. Ling Feng's eyes lit up. A powerful practice method quickly emerged in his mind. It was a method of using thunder from the sky as an external force to temper one's own body. And now, Ling Fong is facing an unprecedented horrific disaster. This method comes at the right time. His figure soared into the air, his breath released, and then he swallowed the celestial immortal technique and exploded. But this time it wasn't martial artist Tru Chi that was devoured, but the sky is filled with thunder. Everyone was stunned by him when they saw this, their jaws almost dropped to the ground, and their faces were full of disbelief. I'm going. What is this guy doing? Absorbing the power of thunder, body tempering. Is there any mistake? Is this kind of thing possible? This is not an ordinary thunderbolt, it is a catastrophe. He swallowed it like this. Are he really not afraid of exploding himself? Above the sky, beneath the 1,000-mile calamity cloud, Ling Feng's figure was as small as a speck of dust. But at this time, this dust is exuding a terrifying suction force like a black hole, continuously swallowing the surrounding thunder and lightning into the body. As the thunder enters the body, Ling Feng's heavenly thunder body tempering method is also activated, which is different from other people's fear, panic, and shock. Excitement was written on his face. It's like a Teoti seeing a table full of delicious food. As thousands of thunders poured into his body, he could clearly feel that his muscles, bones, flesh and blood were constantly being broken, reorganized, broken, and reorganized again. I'm afraid only he can do this kind of thing. Because even if other people have the heavenly thunder body tempering technique, they would never dare to eat so many heavenly thunders in one go like him. This is no longer body tempering, but seeking death. But Ling Fong is different. Because he has immortality. The body is broken and then quickly reorganized. In this process, the sky thunder is used to temper the reformed flesh, blood, bones and internal organs, making it even stronger. The combination of the immortal body and the heavenly thunder body tempering method is simply perfect. Haha, more. A little more. Ling Fong laughed. In the lightning, the body was broken and reorganized, and laughter echoed throughout the world. In the eyes of everyone, he looked like a demon god of thunder at this moment. Even this boundless thunder tribulation must surrender before him. What a monster. The white horse immortal who was fighting against Rusi also noticed this scene, his eyes filled with shock, even though he had seen countless geniuses in the immortal world. But this is also the first time I have seen such an exaggerated transcending tribulation method. Suddenly, he seemed to have noticed something, and saw a golden light suddenly blooming in the boundless calamity cloud. Then, the golden light spread rapidly, gradually covering thousands of miles of calamity cloud, and the blue thunder and lightning also turned into gold. Golden calamity cloud, golden thunder and lightning. Golden heavenly tribulation. This guy actually has the potential to become an immortal emperor in the future. The white horse immortal's pupils shrank. The intensity of the catastrophe often represents a person's potential. The golden calamity is an extremely strange and powerful calamity. Those who can overcome this calamity are the supreme talents in the immortal world. Represents the potential to become an immortal emperor. That's the immortal emperor. It takes hundreds of thousands of years for one to appear. No, we cannot let this guy go to the immortal world. Otherwise, with the relationship between this guy and Lu Xian, the immortal world may be turned upside down by them. The most important thing is that my true self will be in danger. The White Horse Immortal Emperor said, but now, he is being stared at by Lu Rusi and has no chance to make a move. He can only hope that the Golden Tribulation can kill Ling Fong. But after Ling Fong saw the Golden Calamity, he couldn't help but laugh. Okay, well come. I just wanted a stronger and more violent calamity, and the way of heaven has won my heart. He opened his mouth and inhaled, swallowing the celestial immortal formula to activate the power to the extreme. The terrifying suction force surged out. Rays of golden thunder were sucked into his body, quenching and refining his flesh and blood. Gradually, Ling Fong not only sucked thunder into his body, he even swallowed the entire heavenly tribulation and the cloud and spiritual energy from thousands of miles around into his body. In the process, his true chi was also undergoing transformation. From true chi to Shanli. An hour later, thousands of miles of calamity clouds disappeared. Instead, there is a domineering figure standing in the sky, exuding infinite power. It is Ling Fong who is undergoing transformation. First, he swallowed the cultivation of hundreds of martial emperors, and now he swallowed an entire heavenly tribulation in one breath. At this moment, Ling Feng's pressure increased by countless times. An ordinary martial emperor would not even be able to stand firmly in front of him. This moment, the entire sky world seemed to be trembling for him. He successfully survived the Golden Tribulation. Immortal White Horse's pupils trembled slightly. Then, he gritted his teeth, ignored Lu Rusi's stop, used the White Horse divine armor to withstand the opponent's attack, and rushed towards Ling Fong quickly. Clench your fingers tightly and burst out with infinite celestial light. Lu Rusi snorted, dream. Just when she wanted to stop her, she suddenly sensed something. Her eyes narrowed slightly, then she restrained her true chi, and returned to the way she was watching a show. Because she sensed that a terrifying power was surging in Ling Feng's body. The moment White Horse Immortal took action, he also opened his eyes. In his eyes, fairy light flows. Like the rising and falling of the sun and the moon. Facing the incoming fist, Ling Fong also clenched his fist and punched it out. There are also streaks of golden thunder power entwined in it. Boom, double fist attack. Terrifying power exploded, and the surrounding void cracked crazily. Immortal White Horse flew out directly. His arms were shaking and blood was flowing out. You can actually use the power of thunder for your own use. What kind of magic is this? Ling Fong smiled slightly and said, I just created this by myself. I haven't named it yet. I plan to call it Heavenly Thunder Fist. Sky Thunder Fist, a boxing technique that activates the power of thunder. Simple and direct. But the White Horse Immortal was extremely shocked when he heard what he said. Just made your own? Are you kidding me? Weren't you in Transcending Tribulation just now? And it's still a golden disaster. You actually still have time to create your own boxing technique. What kind of understanding is this? What kind of perversion is this? White Horse Immortal's head was buzzing. These two masters and apprentices are more unreasonable than the other. The master is the immortal emperor who once conquered the immortal world, and the apprentice is a freak who can swallow golden tribulations and create his own techniques along the way. When these two people come to the immortal world, they will actually turn the immortal world upside down. It seems that I am unable to kill you in this incarnation. If this is the case, then I will stop you from thinking about the Ascension immortal world. The White Horse Immortal said coldly. I saw his figure rising into the sky, and then a huge white gate appeared behind him, and the White Horse Immortal flew into the gate with a swish. Then, the gate of heaven was slowly closing. Lu Xian, Ling Fong, so what if you have the strength of an immortal? I'll lock you in the lower realm, and I'll see how you can make progress. You are never welcome in the immortal world. The White Horse Immortal sneered behind the door. When those emperors who thought there was hope for Tianmen to reopen saw this, their expressions changed drastically. Some sighed dejectedly, some were angry, and some even fell into madness and rushed towards Tianmen desperately. The gate of heaven is about to close. No, no, don't. Let me in. But before they got close to the Tianmen, they were blown away by the power of heaven emanating from the Tianmen, and those with a lower cultivation level fell directly. At this time, Ling Fong took a step forward, the dragon abyss in his hand bloomed with brilliant light, and a loud and high-pitched dragon roar echoed throughout the world. If the immortals don't welcome me, I will go away. Look at my sword-opening heaven gate today. Sword-opening heaven gate. Ling Fong pulled out the 7 stars long yuan from his waist in one fell swoop, and a loud dragon roar resounded, and thousands of sword energy surged crazily between heaven and earth. Moment. The sword chi merged and turned into a terrifying sword shadow of 100,000 feet. The sword shadow slashed down, and the world was shaken. This sword slashed straight towards the giant white door. There was a bang. The breath outside the giant door was torn apart. Lucky crit. With this sword strike, Ling Feng's talent was activated, and the power of the sword energy was increased many times. With just one strike of the sword, cracks appeared in the white sky gate. Boom. After a loud bang, the giant door exploded. Behind the giant door, a mortal white horse, who had just ran in, was struck by the sword energy and flew out uncontrollably. He was vomiting blood and had a look of disbelief on his face. How is it possible? How is it possible? The Tianmen was actually broken into pieces. What kind of monster are you? A mortal white horse stared at Ling Fong, who was approaching step by step with a pale face. Tianmen is the bridge connecting the immortal world and other worlds. The gate of heaven is broken. A mortal world will be closely connected with that world. At that time, it will be easier to practice martial artist in that world, and the probability of martial artist ascension will be greatly improved. Ling Feng's sword opens the heaven gate. For the entire sky world, it is an unprecedented creation. But this is the first time even White Horse Immortal has seen such a thing, and it is even the first time he has heard that someone can break the heavenly gate with the power of a newly promoted immortal. Do you think you can sit back and relax after entering Tianmen? Oh, even if you escape to the ends of the world, if I want to kill you, you will still die. Today, I will kill your clone first, and then kill your real body later. After Ling Fong finished speaking, he struck down with his sword. The White Horse Immortal was already severely injured by the sword energy of the opening heaven gate. Now facing this sword, he naturally had no power to resist. He was immediately beheaded. At this time, the broken Tianmen turned into extremely strong spiritual energy, mixed with the immortal world fairy energy, and turned into a spiritual energy tide, flowing in all directions. Under the nourishment of spiritual energy, the mountains, rivers and land are glowing with vitality. In the places affected by the spiritual energy, one by one martial artists, those who were injured recovered from their injuries, and those who were not injured improved their realm. Ling Fong watched all this quietly, knowing that the sky world would be very different from now on, and it would be easier to practice as a martial artist. Master, the matter has been resolved, let's go back first. Ling Fong, Rusi left the scene and returned to White Cloud Sect. At the same time, system prompts also appeared in Ling Feng's mind. Ding. Closing square bracket. The host sword opens the heaven gate, benefits all living beings, and rewards the host with the ancient tree of life. Ancient tree of life. Ling Fong was a little surprised. It was the first time he heard about this kind of treasure. But as soon as the name sounded different, he knew it was extraordinary, so he asked out of curiosity, "System, what is the use of the ancient tree of life?" The ancient tree of life is one of the top sacred trees in all the worlds. It has great vitality and can gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, making it easier for people to practice. Not only that, its leaves can also revive human flesh and white bones. As long as it is in under the shade of the ancient tree of life, it is difficult to die even if you want to. Ling Fong was amazed after hearing the description. As expected, it was amazing. If this kind of treasure is planted in White Cloud Sect, it will be a great opportunity for the entire White Cloud Sect. Ling Fong thought to himself. Not long after, he and Rusi returned to White Cloud Sect. Because the Tianmen was broken, the entire sky world was changing. Naturally, the people in White Cloud Sect were aware of it. They also knew that this was related to Ling Fong. Ling Fong didn't hide it either. After briefly explaining the matter, everyone was shocked to learn that Ling Fong had survived the catastrophe and became an immortal, and then they all felt happy for him. Haha, White Cloud Sect, have also become an immortal. Yeah, White Cloud Sect, thought it would be great to have a martial emperor, but I didn't expect that there was an additional immortal. Okay, that's great. I an immortal or fellow disciples. What a honor. Looking at the excited crowd, Ling Fong also smiled slightly, then came to Piao Peak, took out the seeds of the ancient tree of life, and planted them. The next moment, I saw him pouring his immortal power into it. The seeds quickly took root and sprouted, and a huge suction force erupted from them. The sky and the earth were turbulent, and endless spiritual energy gathered. On the ground, a seedling broke out of the ground, then swallowed the spiritual energy and grew rapidly. 1 foot, 10 feet, 100 feet, 1,000 feet. Not a moment, the ancient tree grew to a size of thousands of feet. The green leaves exude a fairy light, the trunk is as crystal clear as jade, and the roots are rooted throughout the Piao Peak. Full of vitality, spreading out. The disciples of White Cloud sect felt a spring breeze blowing on their faces, their bodies felt more comfortable than ever before, and their whole bodies felt ascension. Especially the few people who were in retreat at Piao Peak. Ji Yu Linglong, Lang Ning Shuang, Marong Shui, and the newly moved Zhou Li are even more exaggerated, and their cultivation levels are rising. Buzz. The void trembled. A tall figure rose from the ground, holding a long sword in his hand, and the imperial power spread. Marong Shui rushed out excitedly. She originally thought it would take several years to break through Emperor Wu, but with the help of the ancient tree of life, she directly broke through Emperor Wu in one fell swoop. It's not just her. Lang Ningshuang and Ji Yu Linglong also broke through Wu Saint realm one after another. Zhou Li, who has the weakest cultivation level, has also reached the half-step of martial saint. They gathered under the ancient tree of life. Looking at the shadow of the ancient tree that seemed to reach the sky and the earth, they felt that they were extremely small in front of it. Every leaf of the ancient tree seemed to contain a vitality that was even more surging than Emperor Wu. What on earth is this? I think junior brother should know. Everyone looked at the white figure under the shade of the tree and walked up. After noticing that the girls had left seclusion, Ling Fong smiled and said, "Everyone, you are all well. It seems that you have made great progress in your cultivation. It's all the result of this ancient tree. Moreover, no matter how much progress we make, we are still not as great as you, junior brother. You have already become an immortal." Ji Yu Linglong said with emotion. She was the first person to know Ling Fong, and she also met Ling Fong when he was still immortal. But in just a few years, the other party has already become an immortal. By the way, junior brother, what is this tree? This is the ancient tree of life. It is a sacred tree. It has the effect of gathering spiritual energy and restoring vitality. I will plant it on Piao Peak. From now on, under the shade of this tree, the disciples of White Cloud sect will not be afraid of getting hurt. Is it really that magical? Ji Yu Linglong was a little surprised. Then she reached out and tried to make a cut on her arm. Sudden, there were green spots of light all around, gathering towards her. The wound on her arm was healing quickly. Just like a low-end version of immortality. Awesome. Several people couldn't help but admired sincerely. The appearance of the ancient tree of life attracted the attention of many people. Although they were jealous of the magic of this ancient tree, they did not dare to mess around with Ling Fong around. The most important thing is, in the current sky world, due to the shattering of the heavenly gate, the entire world is gradually becoming integrated union with the immortal world, and is undergoing earth-shaking changes. Everyone was busy dealing with this change and had no time to care about Ling Fong. The heavenly gate of the firmament realm was shattered, causing the barriers between the entire world and the immortal world to begin to disappear, and the two worlds began to become integrated union. There is no way to hide this kind of thing from the powerful people in immortal world. One of the 8 immortal domains in the immortal world. Immortal domain. It is the immortal domain of the integrated union that the firmament realm is now. Compared to the entire immortal domain of the wilderness, the firmament realm is as small as a grain of dust, too small. Although some top experts noticed it, they didn't pay attention to it. They have no idea that in this sky world, there is hidden a peerless immortal emperor who once topped the immortal world, and a peerless genius who has survived the golden tribulation and has the potential to become an immortal emperor. In their view, this is a coincidence. Just a small world suddenly united with the immortal world integrated. Although this kind of thing is rare, it is not unheard of. At least there are many secret realms in immortal world, which are all evolved from some small worlds. However, in a land called Leia in the immortal domain of the Great Wilderness, a sect that dominated a million-mile radius noticed the arrival of the Kanchong realm. Because, the name of this sect is Bema sect. The supreme ancestor of his sect is the White Horse Immortal, who is the Golden Immortal. In the huge Leia, he can be regarded as the top powerhouse, only one step away from the Immortal King. But today, the ancestor of the White Horse sect, who has been in seclusion for many years, suddenly came out and summoned all the powerful people in the White Horse sect together. Pass my command. All the disciples of the White Horse sect gather and prepare to launch a sect war against the Great Zhou White Cloud sect. We must destroy it. Especially one of them named Ling Fong and a woman named Rusi. These two must be killed at all costs. The White Horse Immortal said coldly. Everyone in the Bema sect was surprised when they heard this. White Horse Immortal has been in seclusion for many years. Suddenly he came out and announced that he would destroy a sect. What is so strange about this sect? Let your ancestors go to war in such a big way. Don't ask me why I do this. You just need to obey the orders. Otherwise, the Bema sect will be in danger of being destroyed. The White Horse Immortal took a deep breath and said, "We understand. I will gather the disciples right away. In addition, I will send someone to investigate the reality of the White Cloud sect." The current leader of the White Horse sect said. Soon, the entire Bema sect started to operate like a huge machine. The sect disciples who were traveling abroad were recalled one by one. At the same time, the information about the White Cloud sect in the firmament realm was also placed in front of the Bema sect leader one by one. After reading the information about the White Cloud sect, he was even more surprised. According to the information description, White Cloud sect is just a lower realm sect, with only one Ling Fong who has just become an immortal. As for other people, let alone immortals, martial saint and martial emperor were all very few. Bema sect randomly sent out 1 or 2 people. It doesn't even need to be at the elder level, just the inner disciple level is enough to destroy this White Cloud sect 7 or 8 times. But the White Horse Immortal actually wants their entire White Horse sect come out in full force. This is no longer described as killing a chicken with a knife. This is killing a chicken and opening up all the tanks. What exactly does the ancestor want to do? The leader of the Bema sect felt deeply puzzled, but after all, this was the order of his ancestor, and he had to obey it and could only do it. And the actions of the Bema sect cannot be hidden from the other sects in Leia. Everyone is on guard. He thought that the Bema sect might take action against him. But when they realized that the other party was just trying to deal with a mortal sect that had just come to the immortal world from the lower world, they all found it strange. Is Bema Zong out of his mind? Why do you want to deal with a lower realm sect? Although it is quite strange that the lower world suddenly integrated Union Immortal World, but this is not unprecedented in the history of Immortal World. As for such a big war, there must be something fishy in this, keep paying attention. The other side, the realm of the sky. The integrated union with the Immortal World gave the entire firmament world a new look, and endless immortal energy poured in, allowing countless martial artists to advance rapidly in their cultivation realm. Martial saints are born one after another. Even Emperor Wu began to show signs of ruin. Especially in White Cloud sect. With the help of the ancient tree of life, the progress of each martial artist is so fast that it can be described as incredible, almost every day. Excellent true disciples such as Ji Yu Linglong and Feng Xiaoyao have reached the top martial saint level in just a few days. The White Cloud sect master and others successively broke through to the martial emperor level. This made everyone feel like they were dreaming. Is this the realm of cultivation that I dreamed of before? Is this the immortal world? No wonder so many people have wanted Ascension Immortal World for years. The immortal world is indeed not comparable to the mortal world. Everyone was extremely emotional. And Piao Miao Peak, under the ancient tree of life. Ling Fong was sitting cross-legged and practicing. Endless fairy energy came from all directions and was refined into pure fairy power in his body. The immortal world realm is divided into Fashion, Profound Immortal, Earth Immortal, Celestial Immortal, Golden Immortal, Immortal King, Immortal Venerable, Immortal Emperor, and the Great Principal Immortal Emperor realm that no one is said to be able to touch yet. There are 9 major realms in total. Realm. Each state is divided into early stage, middle stage, late stage and perfection. Because Ling Fong devoured the power of hundreds of martial emperors before passing through the heavenly tribulation, and his accumulation was extremely strong. Coupled with his own talent, he survived the golden heavenly tribulation, so he achieved the perfection of flying immortality as soon as he became an immortal. It is only one step away from profound immortal. Moreover, this is still a realm. In terms of combat power, it is by no means comparable to those in the same realm. Just the body tempered with thunder can beat the average profound immortal. I don't know how long it took. Ling Fong slowly opened his eyes. I used to be able to walk sideways in the sky world, but now this is the immortal world. It seems that I have to be careful in the future. I can no longer be as unscrupulous as before, and I can fight with people at every turn. Whoosh! A figure came to Ling Fong. It's Rusi. She said calmly. My dear disciple, I have some bad news to tell you. The White Horse sect seems to be preparing to attack us. When Ling Fong heard this, a cold look appeared in his eyes. Oh, since they want to deal with us, they have to pay the price. Do you really think that we master and apprentice are easy to bully? Rusi was silent for a moment. She seemed to have heard Ling Fong say just now that she shouldn't just start a fight with anyone. Why do you look like you're about to get angry in the blink of an eye now? Okay, this is my good disciple. Don't worry, as a teacher, although my cultivation level has not yet recovered, I still don't care about a small Bema sect. Moreover, as a teacher, I am in the immortal world. It's not without helpers. Rusi smiled slightly. Although Ling Fong's sword-opening heaven gate was beyond her expectation, the sudden return to the immortal world this time was not enough to make her confused. Back then, she was the best in the immortal world. How could she have no backup in the immortal world? Time flies. The days passed. White Cloud sect's actions were also spread to the sky realm, letting many people know about it, and some people were waiting to see how White Cloud sect was going to deal with it. But many people are not optimistic about it. After all, White Cloud sect can sweep across the firmament world, but now, this is not the firmament world, but the immortal world. The level is much higher. In the past, White Cloud sect was able to sweep across the firmament world because of a strong man like Ling Fong who was beyond common sense, but the situation is different now. There are too many strong men in the immortal world. No matter how strong Ling Fong is, I'm afraid there's no way to protect the White Cloud sect. Yes, this is the immortal world, which is different from the firmament world. Any immortal from the White Cloud sect can sweep across the sky realm. Now it is said that they are coming out in full force. How will the White Cloud sect deal with it? But this is too bullying. The White Cloud sect is a sect in the lower world. Apart from Ling Fong, there is no immortal. The White Horse sect will actually come out in force. This is like using a cannon to kill mosquitoes. Is it necessary? Quote. Who knows what the White Horse sect is thinking? There was a lot of discussion in the sky world. There were also some immortals from Leia who poured into the sky realm and secretly observed the White Cloud sect. In the end, they came to only one conclusion. White Cloud sect must be destroyed. No suspense. As time went by, the troops of the White Horse sect gradually arrived at the White Cloud sect. Almost half of the troops of the White Horse sect who came out in full force were immortals. Every one of them exudes immortal brilliance. The pressure exerted by any one person is many times greater than that of everyone in White Cloud sect. This is no longer an opponent of the same level. This is dimensionality reduction attack. No one thinks White Cloud sect can escape this disaster. That's the ancient tree of life. Some people noticed the towering ancient tree on Piao Peak and the strong fairy light flowing from it, and couldn't help but take a breath of air. Ancient tree of life. This kind of thing is one of the most valuable treasures in the immortal world. I didn't expect that this little White Cloud sect would have such a treasure. It's a pity that White Cloud sect doesn't deserve this treasure at all. This treasure belongs to my White Horse sect. Only we can make the most of it. Many White Horse sect masters looked at the ancient tree of life with fiery eyes. Never imagined. Come to White Cloud sect and you will get this unexpected reward. Which of you is willing to take action and eliminate the White Cloud sect? Bema sect leader said calmly. The elders of the White Horse sect beside him did not speak. Obviously, they maintained their identity and did not take White Cloud sect seriously, and felt that it would be degrading to deal with such a mortal sect. Oh, This white cloud sect is really weak. I can wipe them all out by myself even if I don't need all the elders of the sect to take action personally. At this time, an inner disciple of the White Horse sect smiled. He took a step forward, the immortal power flowing through his body, and the pressure was like a torrent, and then he rushed towards the white cloud sect like lightning, punched out, and thousands of white rainbows spurted out. Suddenly, thousands of sword energy spurted out from the sky and the earth, rushing towards the thousands of white rainbows. The sword energy fist light impacted and ripples appeared in the void. The energy exploded like a series of fireworks. Deep in the white cloud sect, a figure slowly walked out. It was Ling Fong. He looked at the many powerful men of the White Horse sect and said indifferently, "Interesting, it really makes me feel honored that so many immortals come to deal with the White Cloud sect. It seems that you are the only immortal in this White Cloud sect, hee, but little flying immortal, let's see how I kill you." The inner disciple of the White Horse sect sneered. Then, he took a step forward, rushed in front of Ling Fong, and punched Ling Fong with as much force as an army, erupting with great momentum. Ling Fong did not retreat or evade, but also punched him. Thousands of thunder burst out from the fist. Boom! There was a roar, and the thunder tore through the inner disciple's fist. The opponent's arm was covered by the thunder in an instant, and then the whole body was blasted out instantly, smashing the mountain peaks one after another, turning into charcoal. Fallen on the spot, Ling Fong suddenly thought of something and slapped his head. Oh, what a pity, I should have absorbed all his cultivation. What kind of boxing is that? Some people were surprised by Ling Feng's punch just now. It is entangled with the power of thunder, so overbearing. Avenge senior brother Li. A disciple of the White Horse sect roared and rushed towards Ling Fong. Various immortal gate spells roared out. Sword energy, fist light, sword light. But in the face of the siege, Ling Fong didn't care at all. He only saw a faint golden fairy glow emanating from his body, which was the indestructible body. Under the effect of Tianlei body tempering, his indestructible body is many times more powerful than it was during the Emperor Wu period. All kinds of attacks fell on him, but they just made clanging sounds one after another, but they couldn't hurt him at all. Moreover, even if it is injured, he is still immortal. Are you going to tickle me again? Whoosh! Ling Fong tore apart the spell of a White Horse sect disciple, came to the opponent, grabbed it with 5 fingers, and a terrifying suction force erupted in his palm. The disciple couldn't dodge and was caught directly. Then the immortal power in his body surged out uncontrollably and was swallowed by Ling Fong. He's devouring immortal power. What the hell is this guy doing? He actually practices such evil magic. He is indeed a devil. Quick, kill him. The expressions of the disciples of the White Horse sect changed slightly, and their auras surged out from their bodies, and they were about to attack Ling Fong again, but this time, sword energy roared between the sky and the earth, sweeping out in all directions, and all the disciples were torn apart by the sword energy. Crack! A figure holding a wine bottle in his hand slowly walked out. Exactly, Rusi. She took a sip of wine, condensed her sword, and the true chi in her body rose to the extreme in an instant, and then, the power of the fairy spirits in the world surged towards her. Boom, boom, boom. Dark clouds gathered in the sky. It is Rusi's catastrophe. But Rusi took a look, curled his lips, pointed his sword to the sky, and slashed out with a sword energy. The condensed heavenly calamity was actually split into 2. One sword, breaking the sky. Rusi actually cut off his own heavenly tribulation. Then, she stepped from Emperor Wu to immortal ascension. And the level is still improving. Feixian, profound immortal, earth immortal. He crossed 3 immortal realms in a row and reached the celestial immortal realm in one breath. When the people of Bema sect saw this, they were all stunned. What's happening here? This is the first time they have seen such a weird promotion speed. How did she do it? She has broken through 3 immortal realms in a row. What is her background? Boom! Above the sky, a golden fairy glow shrouded the whole body, and there seemed to be thousands of horses galloping around. It was the White Horse Immortal. And this time, it's not the incarnation, but the real person. He looked at Rusi, who had returned to the celestial immortal realm in one breath, and said coldly, as expected of the immortal emperor of the past. He just returned to the immortal world and was able to recover to this point by swallowing the spirit of the fairy. It seems that you are in the mortal world. In the past few years in the world, I have not only focused on drinking and gambling, but have also been quietly polishing my foundation. Did a celestial immortal realm scare you? HMPH, you are just returning to celestial immortal, and I am the golden immortal who is only one step away from the immortal king. No matter how you look at it, I have the advantage. What are you going to do to fight me? The white horse immortal snorted. The next moment, he waved his hand. Everyone in the white horse sect, listen, take action immediately to wipe out Rusi, Ling Fong, and White Cloud sect. Yes. Upon hearing this, thousands of immortals from the white horse sect took action quickly, and their immortal power surged out like a torrent. In just a moment, they could completely destroy the White Cloud sect. Ha, if you want to destroy White Cloud sect and touch my apprentice, you should ask me first. Rusi chuckled lightly, raised her hand to the sky, and the infinite sword energy spread out with her as the center, forming a terrifying sword formation between heaven and earth. Sword formation, rise. Sword formation, rise. Rusi's sword energy spurted out and intertwined in the void, forming a terrifying sword formation that completely enveloped all the White Horse sect disciples present. Wherever the sword energy went, each of the Bema sect disciples turned into dust. She looked at the White Horse immortal with a sneer. Who told you that celestial immortal is not as good as golden immortal? Even if I am immortal, I can kill you. The peerless sword formation is based on the spirit of the immortal spirit. With the earth as the formation plate, the mountains and rivers as the formation pattern, and the sword energy, the killing power is unparalleled, which makes the White Horse immortal shocked. With your celestial immortal cultivation, you can actually use such a large formation. Oh, I know I'm afraid now, but it's too late. Rusi focused his sword fingers, activated the sword energy of heaven and earth, and continuously attacked the White Horse immortal. The golden fairy light flows around the opponent's body, turning into a copper wall to resist the impact of the sword energy in the sky, but this is only temporary. Rusi's sword energy is too powerful. It is simply not something that ordinary barriers can withstand. Even if he is a golden immortal, this is no exception. I didn't expect that just by returning to the celestial immortal realm world, she would have such strength. She is worthy of being the immortal emperor who once topped the immortal world. Asshole. White Horse immortal was so angry that his teeth itched. Boom. Suddenly, the golden barrier in front of him exploded. Seeing countless sword energy spurting out, he shouted lowly, and then a set of white armor appeared on his body. It was a mortal weapon, the White Horse divine armor. With the divine armor added to his body, he resisted the sword energy again. But he was still suppressed and unable to take action. As time goes by, his disadvantages become more and more obvious. And on the other side, Ling Fong couldn't help but marveled when he saw his master suppressing the White Horse immortal steadily. As expected of my master, golden immortal can suppress him easily. Then, he looked at the trapped White Horse sect disciples in the sword formation, with a glint in his eyes and a chuckle. These are all supplements. If you don't eat, it's free. Whoosh. He rushed directly into the formation, as fast as lightning, stretched out his hand to grab a disciple, and then swallowed the celestial immortal technique and used it. After a while, the opponent's immortal power was completely devoured by him. His cultivation has also advanced from Fashion perfection to profound immortal. The immortal radiance on his body becomes more and more intense. Ding. The host fishes in troubled waters, takes the opportunity to strengthen himself, and seizes any opportunity to become stronger. It is really great, and the host is rewarded with a Devouring gift pack. Closing square bracket. The corner of Ling Feng's mouth twitched. What is fishing in troubled waters? Can you speak? But the Devouring gift package reward made him a little curious. After becoming an immortal, he has long known that Devouring is a sign of a true maturity of an immortal. Without mastering Devouring, he is not a qualified immortal. Asshole. Ling Fong has not yet opened the big gift package. Then an elder of the Bema sect discovered Ling Fong fishing in troubled waters. He immediately became furious and rushed towards him desperately. This elder's cultivation level is not weak and has reached the Earth Immortal realm. And Ling Fong has just been promoted to Profound Immortal. There is a huge gap in cultivation. The opponent punched out, triggering the power of the mountains and rivers, intertwined with a strong immortal Devouring, which seemed to transform into a majestic mountain and river scene. Shan Fist. Ling Feng's eyes narrowed slightly and he used the Heavenly Thunder Fist. With a bang, he was knocked back dozens of steps. My arm was dislocated as a result. The Earth Immortal Elder looked at him with cold eyes. Although you are an ancient scholar, your cultivation level is far inferior to mine, and you haven't mastered Devouring yet. You are nothing more than an ant to me. It will be easy to kill you. But as soon as he finished speaking, Ling Feng's dislocated arm quickly recovered. Immortal body, activate. With this physique, even if Ling Fong is split in half, he can still survive. What the hell? When the Earth Immortal Elder saw this, he couldn't help but curse secretly and turned blue. Even if he can't be beaten to death, he can also quickly become stronger by devouring other people's cultivation. What kind of monster is this? But then, a scene that shocked him even more happened. Ling Fong looked at him with a smile. You said I don't know how to Devouring, right? Then open your eyes and take a good look. What is Devouring? At the same time, I also thought silently in my heart, open the Devouring gift package. Devouring gift package is opening. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the sword Devouring. Closing square bracket. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Devouring of the knife. Closing square bracket. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Devouring of the gun. Closing square bracket. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Devouring of the bow. Closing square bracket. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Devouring of the stick. Closing square bracket. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Devouring of the whip. Closing square bracket. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Devouring of the axe. Closing square bracket. Congratulations to the host for getting Devouring of chin. Closing square bracket. Congratulations to the host for getting. In just an instant, more than a dozen completely different weapons Devouring emerged from Ling Feng's body, and various weapons evolved from him. Swords, guns, swords and halberds, axes, hooks and sticks, harps, axes, whips and hammers. The weapons danced wildly around Ling Fong, shaking the world and mountains and rivers. The Earth Immortal Elder was stunned when he saw this. This was the first time he saw so many weapons Devouring. At this moment, Ling Fong seemed to be the master of weapons in command of thousands of weapons. The most important thing is that 1 second ago, he didn't know any Devouring. Become a weapon in the next second Devouring master. Is there anything more bizarre than this? No, it's impossible, this must be fake. It's an illusion, right? The Earth Immortal Elder swallowed his saliva and stared at Ling Fong, wondering if he had an illusion. Whether it's an illusion or not, you can tell by feeling it with your body. Ling Fong said lightly. Then he punched out, and Devouring, a variety of weapons, intertwined among them, forming a terrifying torrent of weapons, blasting towards the Earth Immortal Elder. In just an instant, the opponent was completely swallowed up by thousands of weapons. The body was cut with various scars. Coupled with the endless sword energy all around, the Earth Immortal Elder didn't even last 2 breaths and fell on the spot. Ling Fong looked at his fist and clicked his tongue. The combined power of so many Devouring is indeed powerful, not bad. Then he looked at the other disciples of the White Horse sect, his eyes shining brightly. Whoosh! His figure flashed quickly. Starting from ordinary disciples, he continued to devour their cultivation. And with all the Devouring attached, even the Earth Immortal can't do anything to him. Only the Celestial Immortal can pose a threat to him. It's a pity that these Celestial Immortals are now targeted by Rusi. Faced with many sword attacks, they are too busy to take care of themselves and can't control Ling Fong at all. Ling Fong is like a tiger entering the flock of sheep, unscrupulously. Absorb the cultivation so much that the body can no longer digest it. It's a bit stretched. We need to further strengthen our physical body. Ling Fong thought to himself. Ding. Closing square bracket. The cumulative number of detected immortals devoured by the host reaches 100, and the host will be rewarded with an upgraded version of the Vajra Indestructible body. Closing square bracket. The sound of the system sounded, and a torrent of energy and blood surged through his body, rapidly strengthening his muscles, bones, flesh and blood. After a while, the physical body, which was already comparable to profound immortal in combat power, improved to a higher level. With only his physical body, Ling Fong felt that he was enough to fight Earth Immortal. Just in time. Keep sucking. Ling Fong had a devilish smile on his face and stared at the disciples of the White Horse sect. These people were so frightened that their faces turned pale and they were at a loss. How could someone in this world be so good-looking, but his methods are more terrifying than the devil? What kind of monster did their White Horse sect provoke? Within the sword formation, Ling Fong unscrupulously devoured the cultivation of others, like an unparalleled great demon king. Almost none of the White Horse sect disciples who were targeted by him could escape. He showed no mercy. After all, these people are all enemies. They are coming to kill me and destroy White Cloud sect. Have mercy on these people. Kill, 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 kill. Shira's murderous heart was also activated during the battle, further increasing Ling Feng's combat power and making him even more terrifying. Everywhere, there are howls. The immortals from Leia who came to watch the battle were stunned when they saw this scene. They thought that the White Cloud sect's defeat by the White Cloud sect would be a crushing battle, just like an elephant crushing an ant. Unexpectedly, only 2 people came out of the White Cloud sect and suppressed the White Horse sect. No, this can no longer be said to be suppression. It's a crazy massacre. Hell, how could this sect from the mortal world have 2 such terrifying immortals? What are their origins? I just heard White Horse Immortal mention the Immortal Emperor. Could it be that that woman is the reincarnation of a certain immortal emperor? That must be the case, otherwise how could there be such terrifying power? The person named Lu, could it be the immortal Lu who topped the immortal world back then? Oh my god, if it were her, the immortal world would be lively. Those immortal emperors who harmed her in the first place will not let it go. Tisk, White Horse Immortal wanted to kill Lu Xian, and then go to those immortal emperors to claim credit, but he didn't expect that he would hit a brick wall. The former immortal emperor returned to the immortal world and stepped into the celestial immortal realm. How could it be so? Is it so easy to kill? W+WBW at. Everyone was talking about it and they all guessed Lu Rusi's true identity. At this time, over the White Cloud sect, dark clouds suddenly gathered, and a terrifying pressure fell like a waterfall, sweeping across 100,000 miles in radius. Whether they were mortals or immortals, they all trembled. The wind and clouds are surging, and the sky and the earth are pale. Despair, as if the end of the world was coming, enveloped everyone's hearts. At this moment, they felt as small as ants. This pressure is many times stronger than that of White Horse Immortal. It is a powerful existence far beyond the Golden Immortal. Lu Rusi narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the whirlpool of dark clouds. He saw a terrifying aura bursting out of it that was like destroying the world. A man wearing a black robe, with an aura even more terrifying than Devouring wrapped around his body, slowly descended. The surrounding void began to distort due to his arrival. Lu Rusi's sword formation has a tendency to collapse in front of the opponent. Immortal King. Top Immortal King. He is the 9 Immortal King. The immortal domain of the Great Wilderness, the strongest one on the Immortal King list. Someone recognized the person and couldn't help but gasped. In the immortal world, there is an innate arcana. His name is Tianji Bang. Various lists will be released regularly, among which the Immortal King list and the Immortal Venerable list are one of the most valuable lists. Because those on the list are all Immortal King and Immortal Venerable. Among them, there are 9 in the Immortal King list. There is one for each of the 8 immortal domains, and the last one is called the Immortal King list. And the Juju Immortal King is the strongest one on the Immortal King list of the Great Wilderness Immortal Domain. Although not listed in the Immortal King overall list. But just the words Immortal King are enough to prove his power. Not to mention in Leia, in the entire Immortal Domain, the opponent is walking sideways. Now, he has arrived. Lu Xian, welcome back to Immortal World. Juju Immortal King looked at Lu Rusi and said lightly. Lu Rusi looked at him with a hint of doubt. Do I know you? It doesn't matter if you don't know me, it's fine if I know you. After all, in the immortal world, everyone knew your name. Well, I can't help it because I'm famous. Even some cats and dogs know me. Lu Rusi sighed helplessly. Cats and dogs. Juju Immortal King's eyes exuded an icy look. You are still as arrogant as ever. Even if you have fallen to this, you have not changed at all. Ha, I speak so directly, what can you do to me? Snort. Juju Immortal King snorted softly, and then glanced at the sky world. I didn't expect you to be reincarnated in this lower world. At the beginning, the immortal from this lower world ascension got drunk at the banquet I held and broke one of my wine glasses. I closed the heavenly gate of this world, but I didn't expect that you would open it in the end. I guess it was you who did it. It's none of my business. Rusi shrugged. This was done by Ling Fong. The words of the Juju Immortal King made all the martial artists in the firmament realm change their expressions. The heavenly gate of the firmament realm is closed, and Emperor Wu is not allowed to ascension. It turns out that this Juju Immortal King is the instigator. And the reason was just because the ascension of the sky realm broke a wine glass of his. Because of such a ridiculous reason, there has been no one in the sky world for thousands of years. Ascension. I don't know how many emperors died in depression. Think of this. Many martial artists are angry and sad inside. He is the Immortal King. A single thought can destroy heaven and earth and seal the gates of heaven. With such characters, what can they use to compete with each other? Immortal King, you are finally here. At this time, Immortal White Horse quickly walked up to Juju Immortal King and said respectfully, Immortal Lu is here, please take action quickly. He looked at Rusi with deep hatred in his eyes. Bema sect lost so many immortals this time, and its vitality was greatly damaged. Now, he no longer expects to kill Rusi and go to the Immortal Emperor to claim credit. He just wants Rusi and Ling Fong to die. It turns out that Immortal White Horse came to find the Immortal King of Juju. Tisk, how can the White Horse Immortal have such a great reputation? It is probably because of Lu Xian's reputation that he was attracted to him. Oh, this White Horse Immortal is not stupid. He knew that he might not be able to kill a former Immortal Emperor with his own strength, so he actually invited an Immortal King. Everyone suddenly realized. The people of the White Horse sect also breathed a sigh of relief, admiring their ancestors' strategizing. If it hadn't been for the Immortal King today, they might all have died here. After hearing the words of Immortal White Horse, Juju Immortal King said calmly, killing a former Immortal Emperor, I think this will be a very fulfilling thing. Finished. The 9-Ju Immortal King grasped his 5 fingers in the void. A terrifying aura burst out from the palm of his hand, extremely strong, as if Devouring, the world-destroying Devouring, was entwined on his fist. Compared with the Devouring of ordinary immortals, that Devouring has almost undergone a qualitative change. It's also Devouring, but one is scrap metal and the other is gold. Ling Fong, have you seen that Devouring? At this time, Rusi suddenly asked lightly. Ling Fong nodded, I saw it. In addition to being divided into types, Devouring also has strengths and weaknesses. The deeper the level of Devouring, the greater the improvement in combat power. And Immortal King's Devouring is almost the ultimate Devouring. We call it the King's Way. Rusi did not forget to give Ling Fong some pointers at this time. Ling Fong wrote them down one by one, and then said, Master, you are so calm, do you think you have a way to deal with it? Immortal King and Golden Immortal, there is a world of difference. Because the King's Way has a terrifying suppressive effect on Devouring who is under the King's Way. It's not easy for me to deal with an Immortal King now. Rusi shrugged. Then, let me do it. Ling Fong took a deep breath after hearing Rusi's words. Rusi said it was not easy. In other words, she does have a way to deal with the Immortal King. But there may be a price to pay. But Ling Fong wanted to take action against the Immortal King, although in the eyes of others, his move was completely overestimating his capabilities. But he was confident. He has 2 things to rely on. Lucky critical hit, immortality. These 2 abilities can be called plugins. Not to mention the Immortal King, even if the immortal venerable Immortal Emperor comes, there is a chance of being killed by him. Anyway, with his immortal body, it would be difficult for the Immortal Emperor to kill him all at once, and as long as he is lucky enough, he can trigger the maximum multiplier of a lucky critical strike. Immortal Emperor, I'll kill you too. Haha, good disciple, I know that you have a secret card that no one knows about, but you don't need to take action yet. Master's helper is here. Rusi looked at the sky with a smile. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky in the distance, dark clouds are rolling, and lightning and thunder are roaring. There was a deafening thunder in the sky above Leia, and a purple-blue thunder and lightning seemed to split the opening heaven, rushing towards the white cloud sect at an extremely fast speed. That is, the Juju Immortal King seemed to have thought of something, his face changed slightly, and then the King of Destruction flowing between his fingers slammed down towards the white cloud sect. That royal power transformed into a ferocious behemoth of destruction. A violent aura that destroys the world. It is conceivable that once this kingly beast lands on the White Cloud sect, it will definitely evaporate the entire White Cloud sect in an instant. Pity. At this moment, a dazzling thunder suddenly appeared in the sky above White Cloud sect. In the lightning, a graceful figure loomed. Then, punch out. The giant beast of destruction was enveloped by thousands of thunder and lightning in an instant. With a bang, it disappeared into ashes. The endless energy slowly dissipated, the thunder light disappeared, and everyone could clearly see the graceful figure shrouded in the thunder light. It was a beautiful woman wearing purple-blue armor and long purple hair. Her brows were full of heroic spirit, like a female thunder god. As expected, it's you, the Immortal King who masters the King of Thunder. Leia. Juju Immortal King's eyes narrowed slightly, showing solemnity. Obviously, the person in front of him brought him a lot of pressure. Leia. Hiss. Another powerful figure on the Immortal King list. Oh my god, 2 Immortal King warriors actually came to this little Leizhou today. It's really incredible. It's an eye-opener. After today, this little White Cloud sect will be famous in Leizhou. Everyone looked at Lei Sha in shock. Ling Fong also looked at the other party curiously, but Rusi stepped forward and patted Lei Sha on the shoulder, laughing and saying, "Oh, that little girl who loved crying back then is actually the Immortal King now, not bad, not bad." Quote. Lei Sha turned to look at Rusi. Her eyes turned red, and then she knelt down in the air and said respectfully, "Leia, see the palace master. Get up, there are a lot of people here. It doesn't matter that you, an Immortal King, kneels down to me, a celestial immortal. If word spreads, it will make people laugh." Rusi said helplessly, helping Lei Sha up. And Lei Sha said, "If there was no palace master back then, Lei Sha would have died long ago, let alone become the Immortal King. You will always be my most respected palace master. How are the others in Lushan Palace doing?" "Palace master, after you failed the Transcending tribulation and were besieged and killed by the Immortal Emperor, Lushan Palace also became a target of public criticism and was besieged by several great saints. Without you as the backbone, our vitality was severely damaged. In desperation, we were able to escape and remain anonymous in the immortal world for these years, but even so, the pursuit of us by the great saints never stopped, but we never gave up. We believe that you will come back one day." Lei Sha spoke eloquently, with sadness and joy in her tone. Sadly, Lushan Palace no longer exists. Fortunately, Rusi finally returned to Immortal World. "Well, I understand." Rusi nodded slightly, with a cold flash in his eyes. "Don't worry, I will one day ask those sacred lands for the injustice you have suffered over the years." "Who are they? I can't leave either." "We believe the palace master." Lei Sha nodded. Then, she turned to look at Juju Immortal King. Her eyes were cold, and her body was filled with murderous intent. "Palace master, this person wants to kill you, let me deal with him first. I am also an Immortal King. How can it be so easy for you to kill me?" Juju Immortal King said coldly. "On the Great Wilderness Immortal King list, you are ranked 38th, and I am ranked 27th. Do you think I can kill you?" Lei Sha sneered. Her figure turned into a flash of lightning, and came to the front of the Juju Immortal King. Her 5 fingers clenched into a fist, and the King of Thunder exploded. A ferocious thunder dragon roared out. "The King of Thunder, Thunder Dragon." Juju Immortal King's face changed slightly and he raised his hand to block it. "The King of Destruction, Black Wall." The aura of destruction intertwined and turned into a black wall. But with a bang, he was torn apart by thunder in the next moment. The 9Ju Immortal King was knocked back a few steps, his hands numb, and then the next second, he turned around and turned into a black light, disappearing from the place. He actually ran away without caring about the Immortal King's face. 9Ju Immortal King. "Ha, just change your name to Runaway Immortal King." Lei Sha snorted coldly. Then, she looked at the White Horse Immortal and the others. The other party was startled, then turned around and ran away. But Juju Immortal King escaped and ran away. The opponent was the Immortal King after all, but how could people like White Horse Immortal slip away under Lei Sha's nose? She just raised her hand high, and the dark clouds gathered in the sky. For a moment, it felt like a catastrophe was coming. The King of Thunder, 10,000 thunders. Boom, 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 boom. Thunder and lightning fell crazily. The white horse immortal was the first to be struck by lightning. He didn't even survive for a second. He was directly hit by lightning and turned into coke. And the others were also wiped out in ashes one after another under the attack of thunder and lightning. In a blink, hundreds and thousands of immortals from the White Horse sect all died under the thunder. Lei Sha volleys in the sky, surrounded by thousands of thunders, like the sky above. Everyone couldn't help but swallow their saliva. The power of the Immortal King is so terrifying. Palace Master, I'm sorry for letting Juju Immortal King escape. Lei Sha returned to Lu Rusi with a trace of apology on her face. Lu Rusi shook his head. After all, he is the Immortal King who is in the same realm as you. If he wants to escape, it will be difficult for you to stop him. It's good that you arrived in time this time. By the way, Palace Master, this is... Lei Sha noticed Ling Fong next to Lu Rusi. She could tell that this young man with unparalleled handsomeness and a transcendent temperament that made people sway their hearts had a close relationship with her palace mistress. His name is Ling Fong. He is the disciple I accepted in the lower realm. From now on, he will also be the young palace master of Lushan Palace. Lu Rusi said with a smile. Hearing this, Lei Sha's pupils shrank slightly and she was a little shocked. Palace Master, you actually accepted a disciple? Yes, it's surprising. Lei Sha tried to calm down. When Lu Rusi was in Immortal World, there were countless immortals who wanted to be her disciples. Among them are many unique geniuses, born with immortal physique. But Lu Rusi didn't take any notice. Not a single apprentice was confiscated. Now, Lu Rusi suddenly accepted a disciple, which really surprised Lei Sha, but she quickly realized it and saluted quickly. Leixia meets the young palace master. Leixia meets the young palace master. Lei Sha looked at Ling Fong and saluted quickly, not daring to neglect. And Ling Fong smiled slightly. Immortal King, you're welcome. Then he looked at Lu Rusi and said calmly, Master, what is going on in Lushanggong? Can you explain it to me? Ha, of course, let's go back to Piaomiao Peak. Lu Rusi smiled and took Lei Sha and Ling Fong back to Piaomiao Peak. Everyone in White Cloud sect witnessed the entire battle from beginning to end. Although they did not help in any way, it did not prevent them from gossiping. Especially after learning Lu Rusi's identity, they were all shocked. I will go. It turns out what Elder Lu said is true. He is really the reincarnation of an immortal, and he is also an immortal emperor. Even the Immortal King obeys her. How come we, White Cloud sect, have always had such a big boss? Ooh, if I had known earlier, I would have worshipped at Piaomiao Peak. You think, I still don't want him. The entire Piaomiao Peak is now just a disciple of senior brother Ling Fong. Tisk, there are only 2 people in Piaomiao Peak, but they have saved our White Cloud sect countless times. They are really awesome. Everyone was talking about it. The leader of White Cloud sect couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Looking at several elders, it turns out that we have always misunderstood junior sister. What she said is true. Let's go to Piaomiao Peak and apologize to her. Yeah, that's fine. Several people went to Piaomiao Peak together. And Piaomiao Peak. Lei Sha looked at the towering ancient tree and couldn't help but admire. I didn't expect that there is such a treasure as the ancient tree of life in this small White Cloud sect. Even the Immortal King would be jealous if he saw this thing. For tens of thousands of years, I just heard about it. Oh, my disciple got this. Young Palace Master. Lei Sha glanced at Ling Fong with some surprise, feeling that this young Palace Master had many secrets hidden in him, so she couldn't help but take a high look at him. And Lu Rusi said to Ling Fong, my dear disciple, Lushanggong was a sect founded by Master in the immortal world. At its peak, even the sacred land of the 8 immortal domains combined would not dare to arbitrarily provoke. Unfortunately, my master failed the transcending tribulation and was plotted to reincarnate from the immortal world to the lower world. In order to avoid future troubles, the immortal emperors who plotted against my master asked their respective sacred lands to lay siege to Lushan Palace. As a result, Lushan Palace fell, and its disciples were scattered all over the immortal world. After returning as a master, I used secret methods to contact some people, including Lei Sha. She is the closest to me, so I asked her to come over first to help. Hearing this, Ling Fong suddenly realized, that's it. My good disciple, my master has one more thing to tell you. Master, please speak. The teacher is leaving White Cloud sect. Ling Fong was a little surprised. What? This is for your sake and for the sake of White Cloud sect. I will return to the immortal world. This matter cannot be hidden. Those sacred land and immortal venerable immortal emperors who have enmity with my master will definitely not let me go. As long as I stay on White Cloud sect, you and White Cloud sect will always be in danger. Only I left. They are afraid of me, so they don't dare to attack White Cloud sect and you before killing me. Rusi said lightly. Is this really the only way? It can only be like this, but don't worry, our master will definitely restore his previous cultivation level as quickly as possible, and then chop those immortal emperors back to death. At that time, the entire immortal world will be controlled by our master. The disciples have the final say. When Rusi finished speaking, a smile appeared on his face. Ling Fong didn't see that the other party had such great ambitions. He shook his head and smiled and said, who has the final say in the immortal world? I don't care. The main thing is that master, you must pay attention to safety. I will wait for you to come back. Not only Zhaofeng, we will also wait for you to come back. At this time, the White Cloud sect master and several elders also came. They looked at Rusi with serious expressions. Junior sister, we misunderstood you at first, but we didn't expect that what you said was true. We know that you have made a lot of contributions to White Cloud sect over the years, and we are here to say thank you. Stop talking about these stupid things. When I was reincarnated in the Kanshin realm and had not yet awakened my memory, it was the old sect master who adopted me and gave me a peaceful and stable childhood. Otherwise, I would have died in the chaos of war. Why, everything White Cloud sect does is to repay him, not for you. Rusi pouted, but everyone already knew her temperament. She said this, but in her heart she had already regarded White Cloud sect as her home, especially after Ling Fong came. No matter what, the door to White Cloud sect will always be open to you. Okay, it gave me goosebumps. Rusi waved his hand and then looked at Ling Fong. My good disciple, I hope that the next time we meet, you will be famous in the immortal world. After saying that, her figure rose into the sky like a stream of light. The whole body is wrapped with countless sword energy. The sword energy was like a torrent, and the sound was so powerful that it seemed that even the sky was captivated by it. Crush all devastation with your sword in the air. The sword energy wraps around the sky like a thread. Ha ha ha, immortal world, I, Rusi, daughter back. The sword intent is rolling, shaking the world. For a while, most of the immortal world was aware of this aura that made the entire immortal world tremble tens of thousands of years ago, and the faces of countless powerful people became solemn. That guy is back. Xian, Rusi, okay, we were able to kill her once back then, and we can kill her a second time now. Tisk, we were able to kill her when her transcending tribulation failed. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be enough to kill her. So what? She has just returned to the immortal world and is far inferior to what she was in her prime. In fact, killing her now would be like crushing an ant. Oh, then you have to get past the remnants of Lushan Palace first. Soon, everyone then noticed the White Cloud sect Rusi was in. Is this mortal sect about to be destroyed? It's just a mortal sect. Don't worry about it. Let's deal with Rusi first. If we don't deal with her first, destroying 10 White Cloud sects will not help. If she is even angered, who knows what she will do? Right, in the void, immortal consciousnesses are communicating thousands of miles apart. With the return of Rusi, the entire immortal world begins to have an undercurrent. Within White Cloud sect, Ling Fong looked at Rusi's leaving figure and clenched his fists. The next time we meet, I will do what you wish and be famous in the immortal world. The leader of White Cloud sect walked up to Ling Fong and patted him on the shoulder. Xiaofeng, work hard, I believe you will not let your master down. After sending away Rusi, White Cloud sect still has things to deal with. That is the Bema sect. We, White Cloud sect, have now come to the immortal world. Everything must be developed from scratch. What do we need for development? Resources. What I want is the resources of the immortal world. The White Horse sect was defeated by junior sister Lu this time. The elders and disciples were almost completely killed and injured, leaving only an empty shell. We cannot miss their resources easily. After annexing them, we will definitely strengthen the power of White Cloud Sect. The Lord of White Cloud Sect said, organizing a team of troops to go to the White Horse Sect's territory and search for their resources. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.